Chapter 25:31. Chun-Shi was speechless. Ziyu's theory was too strong, but she was starting to panic. Ziyu's words were all over the place, but the logic was there, wasn't it? She asked weakly, should I make a call? Yes, go ahead. Ziyu tossed the empty milk box into the trash can and touched her chest, troubled. Why aren't my breasts growing after drinking so much milk? Chun-Shi blushed at Ziyu's words. Ziyu sis, what are you talking about? Man, I say. You need to drink milk too. Lenny bro likes girls, Ziyu said. Look at that shoe sis beside him. How big are her breasts? Chun-Shi paused and looked down at her chest. She picked up a box of milk and looked at it before putting it down again. Just when Ziyu was about to nag her again, Chun-Shi picked up a box of papaya yogurt. I didn't know, You're the type of person who's always been quiet, but you're suddenly enlightened? Ziyu said, surprised. No, I like yogurt more. Chun-Shi's face was burning, not daring to admit it. Oh, then you drink that strawberry yogurt. Ziyu pointed at the strawberry yogurt not far away. Chun-Shi's face turned even redder. Haha, I'll stop teasing you. Call Lenny bro now, Ziyu said. Oh. Chun-Shi sighed in relief as she dialed Lin Yi's number. Lenny was in the kitchen making medicine for Xinyan when the phone rang. He didn't even look at it, picking it up. Hello? Lin bro, I'm Shi. Chun-Shi was a little nervous. Oh, it's Shi. Haha, I've been busy lately and didn't have time to pay attention to you in Ziyu's studies. How are you? Can you get used to the high school curriculum? Lenny asked. Lenny hadn't gone to middle school, but he'd heard Mengyao talk about it from time to time. The curriculum of middle school and high school were different. The difficulty of high school suddenly increased, and some students would not be able to adapt for a period of time. Sis Ziyu and I are both fine. Chun-Shi didn't know what to say to Lenny when Lin Yi took the initiative to talk about her studies. Chun-Shi was very happy and went along with Lin Yi's words. I got first place in my cohort this time, and Ziyu sis is really good too. He's 5th in the cohort. Oh, so powerful? Lenny was surprised that Chun-Shi got first place. To be honest, Lenny wasn't that surprised. After all, Chun-Shi was a good student, but Ziyu was 5th in the whole year. She was quite shocked. You didn't copy it, did you? Chun-Shi paused, stuttering after a while. I'm first. Copy? Who did you copy? No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about Ziyu, Lenny said. Lenny bro, am I that bad? Can't I study well? Ziyu had been eavesdropping on the side and suddenly heard Lin Yi doubting her results. She wasn't happy. Why don't you trust me? I'm just saying. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. How about this? I'll go to Songshan and treat you guys to a meal when I'm free. Keep it up. Chun-Shi heard that Lin Yi was coming. She was very happy. Then I'll hang up first, Lin bro. All right, bye. Lin Yi hung up. Chun-Shi held the phone, her face red. She breathed out in relief. She was so nervous. What's wrong with you? Why didn't you say anything? You hung up just like that? Really? Ziyu said angrily. Then what's there to say? Didn't we already say it? Chun-Shi asked carefully. Say what? Just say it. You really don't know how to treasure opportunities. Ziyu said helplessly. Then I'll call back? Chun-Shi didn't know what to do. Call back? What did you say? Ziyu was amused. I don't know. Chun-Shi didn't know what to say. Forget it. Next time I say something, you learn it. If I don't help you, you'll cry for the rest of your life. Ziyu said. Okay, thanks Ziyu sis. Chun-Shi nodded seriously and said gratefully. Ziyu stood up. I'm going to shower and sleep. After hanging up, Lin Yi wasn't feeling very calm. Hearing Ziyu's voice, Lin Yi felt like there was a rock pressing down on his heart, reminding him of Armadillo. Picking up the phone, Lin Yi called Doffing Bro. How was it going? Did he have complete control over Red Konk's forces in the country? Could he find out about Red Konk's stronghold overseas? Could he find out about Armadillo? Mr. Lin. The phone rang 4 or 5 times before it was picked up. Doffing Bro's respectful voice came through. Doffing, how's it going? You've become the big boss, right? Lin Yi asked faintly. Thanks to Mr. Lin, I became the leader of the Red Conch Country's stronghold. At this point, Big Brother Feng's voice paused for a moment before he smiled bitterly. However, there's a problem. Oh, what do you mean? Linny asked. I've already paved the way for you, and you still can't handle it? Mr. Lin, there's nothing I can do. Maybe HQ doesn't trust me to have full authority. So while they didn't promote the second and third bosses, they sent a strategist over from HQ. He's called a strategist, but he has the same amount of authority as me. I have to discuss everything with him, and he's from HQ. So his words are more important than mine. Doffing Bro said helplessly. He's the one making most of the decisions in Red Conch right now, and I can't even interfere. Oh, is that so? Linny frowned. It seemed like he'd thought things were a little too simple. He'd thought that Doffing Bro would be able to take over after killing the leaders of the Red Conches, but he didn't think that the headquarters would send a parachute. However, when he thought about it carefully, it was understandable. In the past, the Red Conch stronghold was controlled by 3 heads. Now, only Big Brother Defeng was left. Whether it was out of trust or to check and balance Big Brother Defeng's power, it was normal for the headquarters to send another person. Chapter 25:32. If that's the case, then endure it for a while and see if there's a chance to get rid of him, Linny said after a sigh. Boss, I can't get him to my side. He's the strategist from HQ, and it's a waste of his talent to come here. He's so arrogant and doesn't treat me as the boss at all, making all the decisions. Doffing Bro said bitterly, and he's a sky class. How am I supposed to get rid of him? Normal people can't get rid of him. Linny was startled. He didn't expect this strategist to be this strong, being a sky class. This was out of Lin Yi's expectations. Linny thought about it and said, all right then, endure it and preserve your strength. Just don't let him get rid of you. I'll think of something. Okay, boss, I'll be careful, Doffing Bro said quickly. Linny hung up and shook his head. It seemed like things weren't going as smoothly as he had imagined. Doffing Bro didn't have any power in Red Conch, and in fact, he wasn't even as good as the boss of the bar. He was the boss in name, but his power was all taken away by the strategist. But it was no wonder that this strategist was sent by HQ, and he was a strategist in HQ, and he was a sky class as well. Why would he care about an earth class like Doffing Bro? It seemed like he had to think about the pangolin carefully. If he really couldn't do it, then Lin Yi would have to find a chance to get rid of the strategist. He wondered how strong he was at sky class. But no matter what, as long as he was at sky class, he wouldn't be too weak. If he was at sky class, then unless Lin Yi ambushed him or used a chi bomb, Lin Yi didn't have much confidence in winning. So Lin Yi wasn't in a rush. He had to find the pangolin, but he had to plan before he acted. He'd be an idiot if he acted rashly. Ziyu would blame Lin Yi for taking the risk even if she knew the truth. Xinyan had just finished her shower when Lin Yi was done brewing the medicine. Her body had the faint scent of a young girl in her body wash, and Lin Yi couldn't help but take a deep breath. Lin Yi couldn't get enough of this scent. Every time he inhaled it, he felt energized. If it weren't for the fact that Lin Yi knew that this scent was good for training, he wouldn't have been able to get enough of it. He almost thought it was a drug. Xinyan was wiping the water droplets off her hair when she realized that Lin Yi was standing beside her, sniffing at her scent. Ah, what are you doing? I'll get you the medicine, Lin Yi said awkwardly. We'll talk about it when we get in the room. It's not good to do it here. Xinyan lowered her voice as she glanced at Meng Yao and Yushu, who were watching TV not too far away. Haha, all right. Lin Yi handed the bowl to Xinyan. Xinyan felt a little sleepy after drinking the medicine. Lin Yi's medicine had a hypnotic effect as well, so Lin Yi didn't think too much of it. After Xinyan went asleep, Lin Yi said goodbye to Meng Yao and Yushu before entering the room as well. At first, Lin Yi wanted to study the mystical steel rod, but now it seemed that training was more important. Lin Yi wasn't sky class yet, so there was no point in studying weapons. Even if the mystical steel rod could break through a practitioner's chi protection, it was only effective against low-level practitioners. It could be used against people like Tiger Right and Zhao Qibing who didn't have much battle experience, but against those experienced practitioners, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to use it. Wouldn't they try to dodge or snatch it if they saw that it could break the chi barrier? So this thing wasn't very useful to Lin Yi at the moment. Linny couldn't use it at all against practitioners below Sky Class, and if Linny used it to fight against practitioners above Sky Class, it would be asking for a beating. They could send Linny flying with just a weapon infused with chi. There was no use for it at all. Linny got onto the bed and hugged Xinyan gently. He activated the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, preparing for a new night in pain and happiness. The pain was because he couldn't touch the beautiful girl in his arms, and the happiness was because his strength was improving rapidly, that place. The Xinshan ancestor looked at Taganlong on the sickbed, his heart filled with anger. Even the Xuanzhen ancestor couldn't do anything about it. Taganlong's injuries were too serious, and it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that his life was hanging by a thread. He didn't know who was so vicious as to turn the chess piece of his important plan into such a state. Even if other than Taganlong, that place had also prepared a hidden one. This had been planned for decades after all, and failure was absolutely not allowed. But even so, the crippling of the Mingzi had an impact on the plan that couldn't be ignored. Although there was a hidden one, the hidden one had a huge flaw. Not to mention his physique, there was a huge flaw in his cooperation with other inheritors. That was why the Xinshan ancestor was so angry. Second brother, is there really no way to save Taganlong? The Xinshan ancestor asked unwillingly. There's no way. The Xuanzhen ancestor shook his head. At least there's no way for now. I'm also looking through some ancient books, but in general, there's still hope. Sigh. The Xinshan ancestor sighed. That day is getting closer and closer. If Taganlong can't wake up before then we can only use the hidden one. Third brother, you don't have to worry too much. I'll work hard. The Xuanzhen ancestor said, if big brother. The Xinshan ancestor's expression suddenly changed, and he became a little embarrassed. All right, third brother. I don't blame you. The accident back then was just an accident. You don't have to blame yourself. Although Big Brother hasn't contacted us all these years, he hasn't forgotten the ancestral teachings that Master left behind. He's also preparing for our sect to return to that level. The Xuanzhen ancestor said, Big Brother is also working hard to find a wood element inheritor. I'm fine. The Xinshan ancestor smiled a little unnaturally. It's okay. If it really doesn't work, then we'll use the hidden one. I hope this time, the hidden one won't let us down. The hidden one is still fine. It shouldn't let us down, the Xuanzhen ancestor said. As the two of them were talking, a disciple outside the door shouted, Master, Martial Uncle, I have something to report. Little one, come in, the Xuanzhen ancestor said when he heard the voice outside. Yes, Martial Uncle. The person who walked in was the Xinshan ancestor's eldest disciple. Chapter 25:33. Master, your disciple was about to report this. Little one said, according to your arrangements, I've done my investigation. The everyday sect's disciple Zhang Naipeo was heavily injured in the Ice Palace's test, and he's been in isolation on the mountain for a while now. He hasn't left the mountain at all, nor has he been to the Wulong Haut Mountains. Yes, I've known about this when the everyday sect denied it. I knew that it wasn't him. The Xinshan elder waved his hand, indicating for little one to continue. The everyday sect was also a sect that had retreated from that level and had a long history. In terms of overall strength, they weren't afraid of that place. So if they said they didn't have it, then that meant that they didn't. But Zhang Naipeo hasn't been in the sect for long, and his name is only known in his sect. Other ancient sects, other than the Ice Palace, don't know about this person. Little one said, if the person who injured Taganlong said Zhang Naipeo's name, then it could be a hidden house, the Ice Palace, or an enemy of Naipeo in the common world. It shouldn't be anyone else. Ice Palace? Impossible. The Xinshan elder waved his hand and said faintly, the Ice Palace is of the same lineage as us, and they know a thing or two about our future plans. It's not very detailed, but at least they wouldn't go against us. Little one nodded quickly. Yes, then Master, what should we do now? Go investigate two things right now. One, who did Zhang Naipeo offend in the Ice Palace test, and how did he get this injury? Secondly, we need to find out where Naipeo's hometown. After that, we'll see if we can find the two murderers. The Xinshan elder ordered, especially that girl who took the treasure. See if she's from Naipeo's hometown. Yes, Master. Xiaoyi nodded quickly after listening. Okay, Go. The Shinshin elder waved his hand and let little one leave. Linny didn't mean to frame him back then. He didn't think too much about it. He didn't expect Patriarch Black Earth's intelligence to be so high. He thought of many things based on this clue and quickly investigated him. Early the next morning, Lin Yi carefully put down the sleeping Wang Xinyan and walked to the kitchen. Xinyan didn't wake up today. She didn't sleep too early before. Plus, it was only 5 in the morning. It made sense that Xinyan wasn't awake yet. Mengyao and Yushu came downstairs after they finished preparing breakfast. Xinyan was the last to wake up, yawning as she walked out of the room. Wow, Shilbro, why is Sister Xinyan so sleepy? Didn't you guys sleep early? What did he do in the middle of the night? Yushu asked, surprised. Xinyan's face reddened. She knew what Shu meant. However, she really didn't get up to do anything. She was really sleepy. However, Xinyan knew that explaining was just covering up. The more you tried to explain, the more it showed that you were guilty. She blushed but didn't say anything. I did it, all right? Linny said with a smile. Linny said that to break the awkward atmosphere. Oh, you really did it? Yushu's eyes widened. Shilbro, hurry up and tell Shu. What did it feel like? Bang! Mengyao smashed the fresh milk bottle on Yushu's head, causing her to fall to the ground and cry out, I'm just teasing you. You're serious? If you really think that, just do it with Linny and you'll know. Yushu cried, holding her head as she got up from the ground. There's a bump on my head. Yao Yao is too cruel. Hurry up and eat. Mengyao took a deep breath. Although she had accepted Xinyan and the fact that Linny was looking for a big wife, she was still a little angry when she heard that Linny and Xinyan did it. Although she knew that Linny was probably joking, she couldn't help but get angry. However, he couldn't help but get angry, so Shu became his punching bag. Poor unlucky Shu. Oh, Yao Yao's on her period these days. Yushu covered her head and whispered to Linny. Linny was a little puzzled. Why was the miss so angry so early in the morning? Xinyan paused, believing Yushu's words. She sympathized with her, getting a bump on her head early in the morning. Han Jingjing and Han Xiaoqiao came, and no one brought up the topic again. They ate breakfast together and drove to school. Zhao Qibing returned to the hidden house Zhao overnight and went to visit old Zhao. Although old Zhao was a practitioner, he was old, and the qi in the outside world wasn't as abundant as in Lin Yi's jade space. He needed to sleep at night, but he still went to see Zhao Qibing after knowing that he was back. Grandpa, I'm back. After Zhao Qibing entered the room, he respectfully took out the technique he got from House Yu and presented it to Elder Zhao. This is the technique I got from the hidden House Yu. And not bad. Old Zhao nodded in satisfaction. He was pleased that Zhao Qibing took out the technique as soon as he came back. He said to Elder Mian, go make a copy and put it in our hidden house Zhao's library. Yes, old master. Elder Mian took the manual from Zhao Qibing and went to the back room to copy it down. How was it? You didn't cause any trouble at the hidden house did you? Old Zhao asked. There wasn't much trouble. The process was smooth. My uncle gave me 2 manuals, one easy and one difficult, Qibing said honestly. That's right. It's not that troublesome. Oh? Then did you get the easy one or the hard one? Old Zhao raised a brow. I got the hard one, and although it takes a lot of effort to practice it, it's quite powerful after mastering it. Zhao Qibing said, because I know one thing, and that is, only by going through the hardest of hardships can one rise to the top. Chapter 25:34. Grandpa, this skill is called 1,000 kicks. It's insane. The first form is twice the strength of a normal skill, and as the level increases, each form is equal to a normal skill plus 1 form. In other words, 1 form is equal to 2 forms, 2 forms are equal to 3 forms, 3 forms are equal to 4 forms, and so on. Most importantly, the second form can activate 2 skills at the same time, and that's why it's called 1,000 kicks. The first form can activate 1 kick, the second 2 kicks, the third 3 kicks, and so on. Qibing explained. Oh, it's that powerful? Old Zhao's eyes widened. He didn't think that the hidden house would be so generous, giving Zhao Qibing such a powerful technique. He was afraid that the hidden house would give him a normal technique to fool Zhao Qibing. It's powerful, but it's troublesome to practice. Qibing smiled bitterly. The prerequisite is, to practice 1,000 kicks, you must break your legs first, and you must break your legs 9 times to activate one form. What? In order to practice this martial art technique, he has to break his leg? Old Master Zhao was stunned. No way, right? Isn't that the same as hurting yourself? Yeah, but I think that breaking my legs 9 times isn't that much. Grandpa, you forgot that my legs have been broken many times already. It doesn't matter if I break them a few more times. Qibing said, plus, I heard that some people even castrate themselves to practice. That's true. Old Zhao nodded. But there aren't 9 times, right? I think there were 5 times. What about the rest of the times? I'll just break my own legs. Pinliang started regretting it all of a sudden. He'd probably have broken his legs again if he'd kept showing off to Linny with Elder by back at the hotel. Breaking one leg was one less chance for him, and he still had to worry about his broken legs. Not bad. You're ambitious, very skillful. That's my grandson. Old Zhao was very pleased and gave him a thumbs up. He said, Qibing, I've been observing you for a while now, but I realize that you're a child who likes to enjoy life. Although you've contributed a lot to the hidden Zhao family, contributions are contributions. I don't know if you can shoulder the responsibility of the family, so I've been hesitating. But today, after listening to your words, I understand your ambition. You are a child who can endure hardship. This 1,000 legs is very powerful. As long as you master it, your strength will definitely increase greatly. Our hidden Zhao family is very powerful. There's hope for the future. Zhao Qibing was pleasantly surprised after hearing his grandpa's words. He didn't think that he would be so lucky. Because he had broken his legs too many times, he had chosen a martial technique. Unexpectedly, it had become Old Man Zhao's determination to choose him as the young patriarch. This made Zhao Qibing feel lucky. If it wasn't for the fact that his legs were broken by Linny so many times, he wouldn't have chosen this self-torturing technique. It was precisely because his legs were broken that he was used to it. Grandpa, don't worry. I will train hard and lead the hidden house Zhao to glory. Qibing said respectfully. Yes. Then you go back first. I want to rest. Old Master Zhao said. Wait, Grandpa. I have something important to discuss with you. Qibing said. Oh, is there anything else? Asked Old Man Zhao. Grandpa, when I went to the hidden house I fell in love with Uncle's daughter, Cousin Yuning. I was wondering if I could ask Uncle for her hand in marriage. Let me marry Cousin Yuning. Then we'll be even closer. Qibing said. I see. Old Zhao didn't show any signs of disgust or happiness. He only nodded faintly. I understand. I'll think about it. Logically speaking, this is a good thing. But I don't know if the hidden house will agree to it. You know, because of the Qi gathering pill, we're not on good terms with the hidden house. I'm very surprised that you were able to get the martial arts technique this time. If we were to propose, I'm afraid that the hidden house would reject it, and it wouldn't look good on our hidden house Zhao's face either. Yes, Grandpa, that's why I didn't ask the hidden house directly. I wanted to discuss it with you. Qibing's heart skipped a beat. He really had that intention this time. The hidden house's princess was not only beautiful, she was like a fairy tale girl. Most importantly, if he married Yuning, then the position of the young master of House Zhao would be secure. Wasn't that the case with his father, Zhao Guangyin? You go back first, I understand. Old Man Zhao waved his hand, indicating that Qibing could leave. Yes. Qibing didn't dare to say anything else and quickly left. In fact, Old Man Zhao and Qibing had the same thought. He also thought that if Qibing could marry Yuning, then he would be able to push Qibing to the top, and there would be less resistance. So, this matter could really be manipulated. After Qibing went back, he took out the 1,000 kicks technique and started to study his legs. Breaking his legs 9 times. Wasn't that a bit too cruel? Normal people wouldn't be able to do that, but in order to practice this technique, Qibing had to break both his legs. Qibing found a large hammer, gritted his teeth, closed his eyes, and smashed it towards his legs. Bang! Ouch! Qibing cried out in pain, but his legs didn't break. Other than a bruise, there was no other injury. Qibing was an Earth-class early-phase master now. After all, he had pure Qi to protect his body. When he was hurt, He unconsciously used his pure chi to protect his body, but after this hammer hit, his legs didn't break, but he was in so much pain that he was sweating profusely. Damn it! It hurts so much. This broken leg is not something that can be broken by an ordinary person. Qibing clenched his teeth in pain. He saw how easily Linny broke his legs, but it wasn't easy for him. It seemed like this was a skill as well. Qibing waited for a while before gritting his teeth and raising the hammer once more. This time, he tried to avoid using pure chi to protect himself. Another loud bang sounded, and Pinliang let go of the hammer with a howl, clutching his leg as he jumped around on the ground. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Did it break this time? Chapter 25:35. Whatever. I'll go find Lin Yi tomorrow morning. He's experienced. Qibing tossed the hammer aside and limped to his bed. As for practicing, he didn't do it often. Why would he need to practice if he had pills? Pills were precious, but House Xiao was working hard to train him, so maybe he'd be able to buy better pills in the future. Above the minor qi gathering pill was the qi gathering pill. However, legend had it that above the minor qi gathering pill, there was another type of pill that could increase one's strength after taking it. However, the pill recipe for this type of pill was already extinct, so it rarely appeared in the cultivation world. Some were found in some ancient ruins and were not easily sold. Although this pill was a second-grade pill, it could only be refined by a cultivator who had reached the peak of the second grade. Even so, it was easier to refine than the third-grade qi gathering pill. It was just that no one could refine it because they didn't have the recipe. The next morning, Qibing was waiting at the entrance of Donghai Engineering University. He saw Lin Yi's jeep coming from afar and quickly ran over, blocking Lin Yi's car. "Stop the car!" Qibing yelled. If they weren't in front of the school, Lin Yi would have hit the gas pedal already. Was this guy sick in the head? "What are you doing?" Lin Yi stopped the car and looked at Qibing coldly. "Get the fuck out, I don't want to beat you up today. I'm going to class." "No," Qibing yelled. "Did you take your medicine today? You think you're strong just because you're in Earth class early phase? Do you want to follow in Elder Bai's footsteps?" Linny frowned, but he was surprised that Qibing had suddenly become an Earth class early phase. Did he eat all the small qi gathering pills he sold? "Ugh, I don't want to." Qibing jumped. He came here to break his legs, not to become a cripple. If he became like Elder Bai, he wouldn't be able to train his legs anymore. He'd just lie in bed and wait for death. Then why are you still here? Linny felt that there was something wrong with Qibing today. Actually, my leg is a little itchy. Can you break it for me?" Qibing hesitated and said. Linny looked at Qibing and frowned. "It's not that you didn't take your meds, you took the wrong ones. Hurry up and get lost. Don't talk nonsense here." "Boss Lin Yi, I didn't say anything strange. My leg is really itchy and I want to break it. Can you help me?" Qibing panicked. Why wasn't Lin Yi angry today? Logically speaking, Lin Yi would have long been angry if she came to show off in front of him. "If your legs are itchy, break them yourself. Don't look for me." Lin Yi started the car and charged towards Qibing. Qibing was an Earth class early phase anyways, as long as he didn't catch him off guard. He had pure qi protecting his body, and the car wouldn't be able to kill him. Don't. Qibing jumped when he saw Lin Yi driving his car into him. He quickly dodged, but he remembered that he was an Earth class early phase master, and the car wouldn't be able to kill him. He wasn't willing to give up and jumped onto the hood of Lin Yi's car. "Boss Lin Yi, if you don't agree, I'll keep hugging your car and not let go. I'll follow you wherever you go until you agree." "Are you a pain in the ass?" Lin Yi was pissed as well. He stopped the car and grabbed Zhao Qibing's collar, pulling him out of the car and throwing him on the ground. "You're not letting go of my car, are you?" "Yes. I won't let go until you break my leg." Qibing started singing shamelessly. "I just won't let go, 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 won't let go hee hee. Oh, all right, I got it." Lin Yi walked to Qibing's side and raised his foot, and under Qibing's happy and joyful gaze, tragedy struck. Lin Yi's foot wasn't on Qibing's legs, but on Qibing's arms. With two crisp cracking sounds, Qibing's arms were broken by Lin Yi. Oh my god. It hurts so much. Qibing howled in pain after losing both his arms. Now that your arms are broken, let's see how you're going to hold onto my car. With that, Linny went back to the car and ignored Qibing. He started the car and drove into the school's parking lot. Wahahaha, I'm dying of laughter. Yushu saw the whole thing from the car and burst into laughter. Qibing's so happy now. He wanted to break his legs, but now his arms are broken. Mingyao didn't know what to say. Qibing was just too unlucky, running into someone like Linny who didn't play by the rules. It was destined to be a tragedy, but she was a little confused. Qibing isn't an idiot. Why would he suddenly come up with such a stupid request? I'm not sure, but it must be something good for him. Otherwise, he'd have to be crazy. Linny said faintly. He didn't care about Qibing at all, but he didn't want to listen to his orders for no reason. So, instead of breaking Qibing's legs, Lin Yi broke his arms. After parking the car, Lin Yi, Han Jingjing, and Xinyan went to the biology building for class, while Mingyao, Yushu, and Han Xiaoqiao went to the economics building. Only the tragic Qibing was left lying in front of the school gate, moaning in pain. His arms were broken, and he couldn't even call his family to pick him up. Pinliang and Xiaofu went back to their place and packed their stuff. Before they left, they passed by the school gate, and Xiaofu paused when he saw someone lying there. Liang bro, why is there someone lying there? Who cares? Let's go. I can't wait another minute. I'm going up the mountain. Pinliang said impatiently. Oh, okay. Liang bro, that person? Xiaofu called out in surprise when the car got closer. Are you done? Pinliang slapped Xiaofu's face. Don't you think it's embarrassing enough? I got beaten up by Zhao Qibing from a hidden house. I'm going up the mountain to get my master's help and get revenge. Xiaofu covered his face, feeling wronged. Liang bro, that person on the ground is Zhao Qibing. What? Pinliang froze, enraged. Why didn't you say so earlier? Stop the car. Chapter 25:36. Gao Xiaofu thought to himself, you're the one who didn't let me say it. You even gave me a slap. I'm so unlucky. But he only said it in his heart, not daring to say it to Pinliang. Otherwise, he'd get another slap. Pinliang didn't wait for Xiaofu's explanation and jumped out of the car. As expected, he saw Qibing howling in pain in front of the school gate, his arms bent unnaturally. He didn't know what was going on, but he was sure that he was injured. It was a godsend. Pinliang was overjoyed as he sprinted over and kicked Qibing's face. You motherfucker! Aren't you supposed to be so strong? Aren't you strong? You're finished too, aren't you? Qibing was thinking that he'd get up and run back to his house after his arm got better, but he didn't expect a leather shoe to step on his face. It wasn't that painful, but it gave him a fright. Who's there? Qibing turned his head and saw Zhong Pingliang. He quickly used his pure energy to protect his body. Zhong Pingliang, why are you here again? Humph. I've finally found your weakness, haven't I? Weren't you going to beat me up? Aren't you very strong? Why aren't you acting now? Pinliang laughed as he continued to kick Qibing's face. But this time, Qibing had pure chi protection, so he could defend against Pinliang's attacks. Even if my arm is broken, you can't do anything to me. Linny won your weapon. What can you do to me? Qibing knew about this as well, so he wasn't afraid at all. Pinliang kicked for a long time before remembering that Qibing was an Earth-class practitioner with pure chi protection. Linny could beat him up, but he couldn't do anything to him. He was a little depressed. But then, Pinliang had an idea. He saw Qibing's bent arm and stepped on it. Hiss! Qibing took in a cold breath, cold sweat dripping down his back. Although he had true chi to protect his body, he only used it to protect his body. Pinliang's attack was ineffective against him, but the broken arm was different. Although the force of the attack was negated, Pinliang's kick caused Qibing's arm to shift. The arm was broken in the first place, and shifting it would naturally cause more pain. Pinliang was overjoyed to see that it worked. She kept kicking Qibing's wounds, but Qibing was a practitioner after all. He could still endure the pain. It was just a simple injury, so he scoffed. If you want to torture me like this, go ahead. It's just a little pain. I can still endure it. You can continue, Qibing said. Pinliang, on the other hand, lost interest. In fact, he was a little annoyed. He could tell. Qibing was in pain, but it wasn't to the point where he was going to cry for his mom and dad. Pinliang lost interest and let Qibing go, a little depressed. He turned back to the car. Drive over him. Pinliang was depressed. He wanted to discuss Qibing. He knew that he couldn't run over him, but it wouldn't feel good to be run over. Okay, Xiaofu quickly started the car. The car ran over Qibing's body. Qibing had true qi to protect his body, but there were still wheel marks all over his body. He was very depressed. However, when he saw the position of the wheel print, he felt a chill run down his spine. Qibing was about to cry. Fuck, isn't this my leg? If I didn't use true qi to protect myself, wouldn't my leg have been crushed by the car? At that thought, Qibing quickly called out, Wait. Pinliang frowned. He stuck his head out of the window and looked at Qibing, impatient. What? You haven't had enough of being run over yet? Do you want to be run over again? Yes. That's it. Zhao Qibing quickly nodded. Just reverse the car and come back. Just like before. Aim at my legs and run over. Are you crazy? All right, I'll satisfy you then. Pinliang didn't know what Qibing meant, but he ordered Xiaofu, reverse the car and roll back the way we came. Yes, Liang bro. Xiaofu thought that Qibing's brain had gone haywire. Was there something wrong with him? Why was he asking someone to roll over him? Was there something wrong with him? But he carried out Pinliang's order with determination, reversing the car and rolling it back. But Gao Xiaofu wasn't Qibing. He wasn't a professional racer. His driving skills were passable, but he wasn't as accurate as he was when reversing. As a result, when the car went over Qibing's body, it went over Qibing's feet. Ouch! Qibing howled in pain, almost going berserk. Fuck you. Zhong Pingliang. I told you to roll over my leg. Why did you roll over my feet? He didn't use true qi to protect himself this time, so both his feet were fractured. The pain was unbearable, but he was more angry than anything else. Why are you so nosy? Pinliang's status wasn't the same as before. He didn't dare talk back to Linny, but Qibing was different. As far as he was concerned, he was just a disciple of the hidden house Zhao. What was he trying to do? Pinliang was getting impatient. Gao Xiaofu, drive. Ignore him. Yes, Liang bro. Xiaofu replied quickly as he started the car and drove forward. When Qibing wasn't paying attention, the car ran over his feet once more, and it was too late for him to use pure qi to protect himself. His broken bones were even more serious now, and he couldn't even stand up anymore. He'd probably have to crawl back to the hospital. Zhong Pingliang, just you wait. You'll die when I master my 1,000 legs. Qibing cursed in his heart, but he didn't dare to say it out loud. Pinliang's car sped away, disappearing in front of the school gates. Qibing, on the other hand, was extremely gloomy. Today was his unlucky day. Qibing regretted not looking at the almanac. Why was he so unlucky? Originally, he wanted to stand up and run back after resting, but his legs couldn't run anymore. Therefore, he could only crawl. However, crawling back would embarrass him and the hidden Zhao family. How could he stay in East Ocean City in the future? Qibing, who was in despair, suddenly saw a familiar face, sitting in a sports car heading his way. It was Pan Hu. Coiling tiger right, Qibing shouted. Chapter 25:37. First I got beaten up by Lin Yi, then Zhong Pinliang. Qibing didn't have anything to hide from Tiger Right Hand. He'd be able to find out if he wanted to, so Qibing told him the truth. You're really unlucky then. Pan Hu Right didn't gloat, but felt pity for him. After all, these two were people he couldn't afford to mess with. He was just as unlucky to meet them. Yeah, can you give my family a call? Let Elder Mion pick me up. I can't go back. My arms and legs can't move anymore. Qibing smiled bitterly. Do me a favor, and I won't mind you calling me to get beaten up. We'll forget about our grudges. Sure. Pan Hu Right agreed quickly. He didn't want to start a feud with Qibing. He was forced by Zhong Pinliang, so he tricked Qibing to get beaten up. Now that he had a chance to ease the tension, He wouldn't be stupid enough to give it up. Panhu Right followed Qibing's instructions and made a call. Now, do you need my help? No need. I'll just wait for a bit. Qibing shook his head. Thank you. You're welcome. Panhu Right was just being polite and let Blondie drive into the school. After a while, Elder Mion rushed over and brought Qibing back. After understanding the truth of the matter, Elder Mion's face was filled with helplessness. He gave Qibing a small recovery pill. The hidden house Zhao still had a lot of these second-level pills, and they all came from the practitioner's market. Zhao Qibing, who had returned to normal, went to Elder Zhao in a depressed manner. Qibing, what's wrong with you? Didn't you say you could break your own legs? Why did you go to Lin Yi? Elder Zhao asked, not looking too good. Qibing was fine, but he'd lost the face of House Zhao. Grandpa, I had no choice. I tried a few times yesterday, but it didn't work. You need a lot of courage to hit yourself. Qibing smiled helplessly. Lin Yi was the one who broke my legs, clean and neat, so I thought of going to him. Who knew this guy wouldn't play by the rules and broke my arms? Qibing smiled bitterly. Lin Yi broke my legs. Don't you know that Lin Yi doesn't always play by the rules? Old Zhao himself didn't dare to go against Lin Yi, so Zhao Qibing was at a disadvantage. He could only accept it. Forget it. What do you want to do then? Grandpa, can you help me? Qibing hesitated and asked. Me? Old Zhao's face twitched as he looked at Qibing's legs. He was a sky class, but he couldn't break his grandson's legs with his own hands. This was also why he couldn't kill Qikuan himself. He could only use the Sky Elixir sex hand to make him have an accident in the Sky Elixir's test. After all, this was his grandchild. He couldn't do it. But this time, he was helping Qibing with his training, so he wasn't harming him. He thought about it. I'll think about it. I'll adjust my mentality. All right, Qibing nodded. I'll be leaving then, Grandpa. Rest well. Songshan's first school, a transfer student came today. It wasn't a rare thing for a transfer student to come to a prestigious school like Songshan's First High, but this transfer student was different. When he arrived at the school, it was extremely grand. 4 black Mercedes-Benz cars led the way, and in the middle was a Rolls-Royce. Behind the Rolls-Royce were 4 Audi Q7s. It looked like a rich man's wedding. A cool-looking young man with sunglasses walked down from the Rolls-Royce. He was Chun Xiaoba, the only son of the city's mafia boss. Bobro, Ng Ziyu, I finally found you, Chun Xiaoba said with a smile as he got off the car, looking at the sign on the school gate. Chun Xiaoba was one of Ziyu's pursuers, and the story started a few days ago. Chun Xiaoba and a few friends came to Songshan to play, and when they were eating at a restaurant, they saw Ziyu teaching a pervert a lesson. She was so cool, and Chun Xiaoba was mesmerized by her. He was a gangster in the first place, and he was very interested in hot girls like Ziyu who were obviously different from delinquents. He went up to talk to her, but she ignored him and left with Chun Xi after paying the bill. Chun Xiaoba was a gangster, but he wasn't an idiot. He didn't know who Ziyu was in Songshan, and he didn't dare do anything inappropriate. He only took a picture of her with his phone, preparing to investigate her background later. With Chun Xiaoba's background and power, investigating someone was way too easy. Soon, Ziyu's information appeared in front of him. Ziyu, female, 16 years old, graduated from Songshan Fushan High, the big sister of one of the big 3 powers there. Never had a boyfriend, currently studying at Songshan's First High. She had turned over a new leaf, working hard at her studies. One of the big 4, Zhou Ruoming, was there to protect her. This never had a boyfriend made Chun Xiaoba's eyes light up. This was great. How could he let go of a girl like this? Next, he looked at Zhou Ruoming's information. Zhou Ruoming, male, 20 years old, one of the big 4 of Songshan's First High, a repeat student. His father, Zhou Tiandi, was a famous entertainment tycoon in Songshan. His business was half illegal, half legal. His brother, Zhou Ruoguang, was a gangster boss in the North District. Chun Xiaoba snorted coldly after looking at Zhou Ruoming's information. Zhou Ruoming's family was nothing but a gangster in his eyes. He didn't know what relationship Zhou Ruoming had with Ziyu, and why he was protecting her at school, but Chun Xiaoba wasn't worried at all. He believed that Zhou Ruoming wouldn't dare interfere with him going after Ziyu. In fact, his guess was right. Zhou Ruoming didn't dare warn Qin Xiaoba after knowing his identity. This was a person he couldn't afford to offend. Chapter 25:38. Oh, you can't handle it? Ziyu paused. As far as she could remember, House So was a very powerful family in Songshan, at least able to take care of everything in the underworld. This was also why Ziyu and Chen Shi didn't get harassed by boys, but Chen Xiaoba's arrival broke that balance. Yeah, Chen Xiaoba's father, Chen Bawang, is the temporary boss of the underworld, much bigger than us, Zhou Ruoming said, a little embarrassed. Miss Ziyu, I don't have a choice. They're too strong. Should we contact Boss Lin Yi? Ziyu frowned. To be honest, she didn't want to trouble Lin Yi with something as small as this. Lin Yi wasn't in Songshan right now, and it wasn't convenient for him to go back and forth. So she thought of Cihua. He was a big boss in Songshan, and she had his contact too. She just never used it. I'll ask Cihua, Ziyu said. If it wasn't necessary, she didn't want to trouble Lin Yi with something as small as this, as if she and Chun Shi had a lot of things to do. All right, Cihua Bro's position is about the same as Chen Bawang. His words should be effective. Zhou Ruoming nodded. And so, Ziyu gave Cihua a call and told him what happened. Cihua didn't reject her, only saying that he needed to investigate first and that he'd get back to her later. In fact, Cihua didn't need to investigate. Since Ziyu said that, it was most likely true. There was no need to investigate. He just wanted to ask Qibing if he should help or not. Hello? Qibing had just recovered and was resting on the bed. He picked up Cihua's call weakly. Cihua, didn't I say that you don't need to call me if there's nothing important? You can take care of the business there. Cihua nodded. Cihua, I told you not to call me if there's nothing important. Master Bing, there's something I need your help with here. Cihua said quickly. Oh, what is it? You still need me? Qibing asked. Yes. It's like this. Ziyu's being harassed by Qin Xiaoba, and she wants me to mediate. Cihua said carefully. Who is Ziyu? Which one is Chen Xiaoba? Qibing paused. He couldn't recall the existence of these two people in his memory. Ziyu is Lin Yi's god-sister, and Chen Xiaoba is the son of a temporary mafia boss. Cihua explained. Wait, what did you say? Ziyu is Lin Yi's god-sister? Qibing's eyes lit up when he heard Lin Yi's name. He sat up on the bed and asked, Are you sure? Yes, this is accurate. Cihua nodded. Lin Yi even took her out to get her hair done, treating her really well. He even had Zhou Ruoming look after her at school. Ha 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 ha. Pin Liang started laughing. This is a godsend. A godsend? What do you mean? Cihua didn't understand why Qibing was laughing all of a sudden. He could only test the waters. Master Bing, do you mean that we don't care? Let Qin Xiaoba harassing Ziyu and make things difficult for Lin Yi? Of course not. Qibing said quickly. Of course we will. But wait for my phone call, wait for my order, and I'll make that Qin Xiaoba scram. All right, I got it. Cihua was confused. He didn't know what Qibing was so excited about, but since it was an order from Qibing, he would carry it out without holding back. He used to be Qibing's follower, and Qibing was now the heir of the hidden house Xiao. This meant that Cihua had to follow Qibing's footsteps even more closely. Qibing hung up and ran out of the house. This time, he was smarter. He didn't come alone, only bringing a follower, Zhao Qishu. He even brought a wheelchair with him, driving his car all the way to Donghai Engineering University. They entered the biology building and found Lin Yi's class. They knocked on the door, and Boss Bai opened it with a frown. He looked at Qibing, who was standing at the door. What do you want? Hello, teacher. I'm looking for Lin Yi, Qibing said politely. Oh, wait a second. Boss Bai's face softened a little when he heard that it was for Lin Yi. Lin Yi was a student with special privileges, so it wasn't a problem if he didn't listen in class. If it were any other student, Boss Bai wouldn't let them go unless it was an emergency. Lin Yi, someone's looking for you. Boss Bai said to Lin Yi after returning to the classroom. Someone's looking for me? Lin Yi paused, but quickly walked out of the classroom. He was even more confused when he saw Qibing standing in front of him. Why are you here again? Lin Yi, boss, it's like this. I have something urgent to report to you. Qibing was afraid that Lin Yi would just leave and ignore him, so he quickly used an emergency to stop Lin Yi. What is it? Lin Yi was a little impatient, but he still asked. Ing Ziyu, she's in Songshan, and she's being harassed. Qibing didn't dare waste time. Harassed? How do you know? Lin Yi frowned. What's going on? Who's harassing her? Is there any trouble? Not at the moment. Qibing saw the frown on Lin Yi's face and knew that Lin Yi was worried about Ziyu. He felt that there was a chance. I got the news from Sihua, Lin Yi boss. Do you need my help? Can I get Sihua to warn her? Zhou Ruoming didn't do it? Lin Yi felt that this was a little strange. The son of the mafia boss, Zhou Ruoming, can't do it yet. Qibing said, only Sihua can do it. Of course, Boss Lin Yi would be able to do it yourself, but I'm sure you don't have the time, right? Oh, so you're here to ask for a reward, right? Lin Yi nodded. Heh, it's not really asking for a reward. I'll help you deal with Ziyu, and you'll reward me by breaking my leg. How's that? Qibing looked at Lin Yi expectantly. Lin Yi spat on Qibing's face and started coughing. Cough, cough, cough. You're not sick, are you? No, I'm fine, aren't I? I've recovered from all my injuries. Qibing said. Then why do you want to break your leg? Lin Yi asked curiously. That? Don't ask. I just want to break my leg. Qibing said. Chapter 25:39. Although Lin Yi could go to Songshan himself, it was a little rushed and troublesome. It wasn't worth it for a small fry like him, so it was a good thing that Qibing could do it for him. But Qibing's request was too special. His reward was to break his legs? Anyone with a normal mind wouldn't make such a request, unless he had some other special purpose. But what special purpose could Qibing have? Was breaking his legs good for him? Lin Yi couldn't think of anything besides. Lin Yi didn't want to think about it anymore. Even if he didn't break Qibing's legs, Qibing would find a way to do it. Breaking Qibing's legs was as easy as lifting a finger. Great, I'll make the call now. Qibing was overjoyed. He picked up the phone and dialed Sihua's number, ordering excitedly, Sihua, go tell that little bastard to F***ck off. Yes, Master Bing. Sihua didn't know why Qibing was so excited, but he nodded anyway. All right, I'll go now. Qibing hung up and waved his phone at Lin Yi proudly. It's done. Shouldn't it be my reward? Oh. Lin Yi kicked Qibing's legs twice, and with two crisp cracking sounds, Qibing's legs were broken. Ha ha, that's great. Qibing was in pain and happy at the same time. His legs were finally broken, and it was done so cleanly. K-15 quickly helped Qibing into the wheelchair, but Qibing couldn't stop laughing. Boss Lin Yi, you're too amazing. Your leg-breaking technique is unparalleled, fast, good, and thorough. It's godlike. Lin Yi was speechless at Qibing's compliments. Lin Yi boss, I'll definitely find you to break my legs again in the future. It feels so good, so good. Qibing said. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving, Lin Yi said to Qibing's incomparably brainless behavior. He didn't want to say anything else. Okay, thank you, Qibing said gratefully. Lin Yi shrugged and entered the classroom. Qibing, on the other hand, left Donghai Industry University in high spirits. K-15 didn't know the truth, and he didn't dare to ask. He was wondering if Master Bing had a problem with his leg, to think that someone had broken it. But he was so happy. What kind of train of thought was this? Sihua received Qibing's order and immediately went to talk to Chen Xiaoba. Chen Xiaoba didn't expect the famous Sihua to come to him on his first day in Songshan. Although he wasn't happy, he had to lower his head in Sihua's territory. Bossly, what can I do for you? Chen Xiaoba was in the middle of chasing Ziyu when Sihua's men called him to a Mercedes-Benz at the school gates. Chen Xiaoba, how's your father? Sihua asked. Not bad. Thank you for your concern, Bossly. Chen Xiaoba said politely, not knowing what Sihua was trying to say. Chen Xiaoba, this is Songshan, not a neighboring city. Go back. I'm just giving you a friendly reminder, don't cause trouble here. Sihua said. Bossly, what do you mean? Chen Xiaoba's face changed. Can't I come to school here? That's not it. It's just that Ziyu has a brother, a tough guy. He asked me to tell you on his behalf. Sihua drew a clear line between himself and Qinba Wang so that it wouldn't affect his business dealings with him. Oh, her brother? He's in the underworld too? Chen Xiaoba frowned. That's not it. But it was my boss who told me about this personally, so I hope young Master Chun can give me some face. Otherwise, it'll be hard for me. Sihua threatened faintly. You know that I'm just a spokesperson. Everything is up to my boss. I understand. I'll go back now, Boss Li. Chen Xiaoba didn't want to, but he didn't dare go against Sihua's words. After all, this was Sihua's territory. It didn't matter if his father was Chun Bawang. Of course, he didn't want to give up just like that. If he couldn't do it openly, he'd have to do it in the dark. It seemed like Sihua was only doing this on someone else's behalf, so he wouldn't be paying attention to Ziyu's movements all the time. He just needed to wait for the commotion to die down, and he'd make his move in the dark. Chen Xiaoba didn't think that Ziyu had any powerful backgrounds. Her brother probably knew the person behind Sihua and asked his grandpa to tell him. After all, Ziyu didn't look like a girl from a rich family, and everything she ate was normal. She went to a bad school, Fushan High. Haha, that's good. Sihua nodded. After leaving Sihua's car, Chen Xiaoba left Songshan on the same day. He wasn't happy about it, but he didn't show it. He didn't believe that Sihua would do the same thing next time, even if he did. Chen Xiaoba wasn't afraid of Sihua at all. He knew that Sihua's boss was the hidden house Zhao, but his father, Chen Bawang, was also the hidden house Shuang, who didn't have some kind of background these days. Especially someone like Chen Bawang, someone who could control an entire city's underworld business. If he didn't have a strong background, he'd be swallowed by other gangs a long time ago. But with a giant like the hidden house Shuang, all of them practitioners, which gang would be stupid enough to go against them? It was a one-sided death wish. Chen Xiaoba, on the other hand, was giving face to the hidden house Xiao. They wouldn't cause trouble on their turf, but whether or not he would do anything to Ziyu depended on the hidden house Shuang's attitude. After Chen Xiaoba left Songshan, Lin Yi received a message from Qibing. Boss Lin Yi, Sihua has talked to Chen Xiaoba and told him to piss off. Don't worry. I'm happy to be of service to you. I hope you won't reject me the next time I ask you to break your legs. Thank you. Linny was speechless as he read Qibing's message. He really couldn't understand why Qibing was so interested in a broken leg. Could it be that this guy had found some weird training method, similar to Zhang Naipeo? Shaking his head, Lin Yi went back to practicing, smelling Xinyan's fragrance. Lin Yi was racing against time, constantly improving his strength. It wasn't just for Xiao Xiao anymore, it was for himself. His enemies were getting stronger and stronger, and while most of the noble houses were basically following Lin Yi's lead, most of the hidden houses weren't on good terms with Lin Yi. Some were even enemies. Chapter 2548 _ School Bells Bodyguard Free Reading _ Chapter 2548 Chapter 2540. The reason why he couldn't practice alchemy was because of the ancient sections. The ancient sects didn't even need to be mentioned, so he had to get stronger as soon as possible to protect himself and his family. Lin Yi, come with me to the office. After the morning class, Boss Bai said to Lin Yi. Okay. Lin Yi quickly returned to reality from the space of the jade pendant and nodded. Under the envious gaze of Right Coiling Tiger, Lin Yi followed Boss Bai out of the classroom and walked in the direction of his office. Lin Yi is really lucky. He has the favor of a beauty and Boss Bai to guide him in alchemy. It's really infuriating. Right Coiling Tiger muttered with some dissatisfaction. These days, Lin Yi didn't get any new information from Boss Bai, so Coiling Tiger didn't make a move. But now he couldn't sit still. After hesitating for a moment, Coiling Tiger Yu still followed. Although he was more afraid of Lin Yi, he had to pay attention to the information related to improving the level of alchemy of the Yu family. Others may not know, but Coiling Tiger Yu was very clear. Boss Bai's alchemy skills back then, even if the masters of the entire Heavenly Elixir sect were added together, it would still be difficult to catch up. So even if he was afraid, Coiling Tiger Yu still had to follow. Lin Yi was now a master of the peak of the middle phase of the Earth class. Naturally, he could easily notice that someone was following him. But after seeing that it was Coiling Tiger Yu, he didn't care. Lin Yi went to Boss Bai's office several times before, and there was not a time when Coiling Tiger Yu didn't follow him. Lin Yi was already used to it. Little E, How's your alchemy skills these days? Has it improved? Boss Bai asked as he walked. Still the same. I can't change the temperature and intensity of the fire. Linny smiled bitterly and said, maybe I really don't have the talent for alchemy. Is your body really lacking the wood attribute? Boss Bai frowned. He was grateful to Lin Yi and admired Lin Yi's medical skills. Therefore, he wanted Lin Yi to learn more things and go further on the path of medicine. How could he go further? Conventional medical skills were certainly not very attractive to Lin Yi. Only the art of alchemy, which was a higher level of medical skills, was also helpful to cultivators. However, Lin Yi had never been able to condense the alchemic fire skillfully, which made Boss Bai feel very regretful. That's not it. I can confirm that my body has the wood attribute. Previously, Lin Yi wasn't sure if he had the wood element in his body. After all, changing the element of alchemy fire at will was an uncertain factor in Lin Yi's eyes. What if it was the art of dragon mastery? However, after practicing the wood forest 1,000 transformations, Lin Yi was sure that he had the wood element in his body. Oh? Boss Bai paused for a moment and turned to look at Lin Yi. Then he shook his head and said, it's not surprising that you can condense the fire element and wood element alchemy fire. It doesn't mean that your body has this element. Just like alchemists who don't have the water attribute can also condense and catalyze the water element alchemy fire, this is only the transformation of the chant. It doesn't mean that your body really has this type of alchemy fire. No, Mr. Bai, what I mean is that I can use both the wood and fire attribute martial arts skills. Linny shook his head and thought that his guess was right. Being able to transform alchemy fire had nothing to do with one's physique. However, at this moment, he said with certainty, so my body should have both the wood and fire attributes. This. Boss Bai's expression became even worse. His expression turned even uglier. After a long while, he finally said, could it be the legendary good-for-nothing? Cough, cough, cough. After hearing Boss Bai's words, Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In any case, his cultivation speed was considered excellent. Without a master, he was not inferior to the disciples of the hidden families or even the ancient sections. How could he be called useless? Moreover, he could also imitate and create martial arts skills. Even if he wasn't a genius, he wasn't a useless wood, right? Most importantly, when the art of dragon mastery reaches the second level, he could become an existence similar to a blacksmith, and he would be a rare genius in the world. Lin Yi, I didn't mean that. Boss Bai saw that Lin Yi was embarrassed. He hurriedly explained, actually, what I meant was that some people's physiques are not suitable for alchemy. For example, I once knew a person, how should I put it? This person's body contains many different attributes, even surpassing the ordinary fire and wood attributes. It's not just 3 attributes, but more. This person's multiple attributes form a situation where they are mutually restraining each other. Although I can't be sure if this is the case for you, your body shouldn't be suitable to become an alchemist. Oh, isn't the more attributes the better? Why can't I become an alchemist? Lin Yi's heart slightly moved, and he asked. Actually, it's like this. An alchemist must have the 2 basic attributes of fire and wood. Fire is the body attribute necessary to condense all kinds of alchemy fire, and wood is a kind of wood's spiritual perception of the changes of the herbs in the alchemy furnace. If these 2 basic attributes have the water attribute, then it will have a restraint on the fire attribute, and water and fire are mutually exclusive. Boss Bai explained, in this way, because of the water attribute, the fire attribute will be restrained, and can't change the temperature and intensity of the alchemy fire. That's it? After hearing this, Lin Yi's eyes widened, and he finally understood. But at the same time, he was a little frustrated. Mr. Bai, you're right. I still have the water attribute in my body, because I can also activate the water martial arts skills. Sure enough. Boss Bai patted Lin Yi's shoulder and looked at Lin Yi with a bit of heartache. Having too many attributes is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. At the very least, it's a bad thing for alchemists, because the current mantras for alchemy fire catalyzing and condensing can't change this situation. Although in theory, if there is a new mantra, this difficulty can be overcome, but there is not for the time being. There are too few examples like you? Linny shrugged. Boss Bai's words were all for naught. However, if your body also has the metal attribute, you can become a blacksmith. In the world of blacksmiths, there is no such thing as mutual restriction. Boss Bai said, I can be sure of this. Oh? Linny was slightly stunned. Did he have the metal attribute in his body? At present, Linny was also not clear, because Linny had not tried to activate the metal attribute martial arts skills, but when the second level of the Art of Dragon Mastery was completed, it was certain that he could condense the space of the Jade Pendant. Chapter 2549 The Campus Belle's Bodyguard is Free. Chapter 2541 Did that mean that he was a blacksmith? It seemed that he was even more powerful than an alchemist. Although Linny wasn't very sure, Linny speculated that he should have the metal element. Otherwise, the method of condensing the Jade Pendant wouldn't have mentioned all the other prerequisites, and that was the completion of the second level of the Art of Dragon Mastery. In other words, those who could practice the Art of Dragon Mastery must have the metal, wood, and fire elements in their bodies. It's nothing. I had a disciple of an old friend who had this element. He could become a blacksmith, not an alchemist. Boss Bai didn't say much, obviously unwilling to talk about the past. Linny nodded and didn't ask any more. What a pity, but it's fine. I'll help you collect some information on blacksmiths. Your body type is rare even in 1,000 years. If you really have the metal element, then becoming a blacksmith won't be a dream. By then, you'll be even more powerful than an alchemist. Boss Bai comforted him. Thank you, Mr. Bai. Linny was really touched after listening to Boss Bai's words. He and Boss Bai were just an ordinary teacher and student, and Boss Bai's kindness to him originated from the time when he saved him. But now, the favor was almost returned, and Boss Bai was still tirelessly helping him solve his problems. Hee, no need to be so polite. I'm your teacher. Isn't this what I should do? Boss Bai smiled and said, How about it, E? Do you want to be my disciple now? Mr. Bai, you're my teacher now. This is actually the same as my previous master. A teacher for a day is a father for life. I'm already your disciple. What else is there to doubt? Linny smiled and said, It's just that I'll be Boss Bai's disciple in the future. I don't want to lose face for you. Haha, okay. I'm very happy today. Boss Bai nodded and said, In fact, you also know that this kind of teacher and student relationship is still different from a real teacher and disciple relationship. For some people, although I'm a teacher in their school, I won't allow them to use my name after they graduate. I understand. Linny thought to himself, Are you talking about the right coiling tiger? Originally, I called you here this time because I wanted to give you something really good. Some of the things that my master taught me years ago, I wanted to see if you could be inspired by them, but now it seems that they are not very useful. Boss Bai sighed and said with some disappointment, It's useful, of course it's useful. Linny quickly said, Useful? Don't tell me you're going to use it to trade with Right Coiling Tiger? Boss Bai laughed, but Lil E, I'm telling you, the thing this time is indeed good stuff. It's a pity to give it to Right Coiling Tiger, but if you really want to trade with him, then I can give it to you. But this is what my master taught me back then. When Boss Bai said this, his voice suddenly became a lot louder. Previously, the two people were communicating in a low voice, and with Right Coiling Tiger's distance and hearing, he couldn't hear it at all, but Boss Bai's words were heard clearly by Right Coiling Tiger. Lin Yi suddenly blushed. He really didn't mean that. He wanted to give Han Jingjing a reference and see if he could learn something new from it. As for exchanging it to Right Coiling Tiger, it would depend on the real value of this information. If it was really that kind of useful and precious information, Lin Yi naturally wouldn't give it to Right Coiling Tiger. Right Coiling Tiger stood behind the two people not far away. Previously, he was suffering from his poor hearing and couldn't hear anything clearly. Suddenly, Boss Bai's words came into his ears like a bolt from the blue, causing Right Coiling Tiger's ears to prick up. It was really good stuff? Or something that Boss Bai's master taught him back then? Wasn't this exactly what the Right family needed to hide? This time, he listened carefully and couldn't make a mistake. Right Coiling Tiger was overjoyed. He had to get this information. Thinking of this, Right Coiling Tiger also slowed down. In order not to let Lin Yi and Boss Bai suspect, He deliberately slowed down and didn't follow too closely. After all, he already knew that Lin Yi would get a super good information. Right Coiling Tiger only needed to be prepared to negotiate with Lin Yi to exchange the information back. I just said it casually. Since the information has been given to you, I won't say anything if you want to exchange it for some benefits that are beneficial to you. Boss Bai laughed. He really took good care of Lin Yi. Well, can this really be exchanged for Right Coiling Tiger? Lin Yi asked with some uncertainty. Actually, it can. Boss Bai said, this is something that my master left me. The information inside is actually not particularly important. Anyway, you can make your own decision. Thank you, Teacher Bai. Lin Yi said gratefully. This is nothing. The most important thing is an alchemist's notes that I summarized and perfected myself. This alchemist's notes, you'd better not give it away. Boss Bai said, I will give it to you next time. That is not necessary. I can't become an alchemist, Lin Yi said with some embarrassment. You can't, but can't Han Jingjing? Boss Bai smiled. Teacher Bai, you know all about it? Lin Yi was shocked and looked at Boss Bai with some surprise. He didn't expect Boss Bai to already know about Han Jingjing. Didn't you give all the things that you exchanged with Right Coiling Tiger to her? Boss Bai smiled slightly. Although I don't know what your relationship with her is, it seems that she should be very close to you. If she can become an alchemist, my support for you will not be in vain. Han Jingjing is indeed an alchemist. Lin Yi nodded. Regarding this, since Boss Bai had already seen through it, and Boss Bai had given him such support, Lin Yi was embarrassed to hide anything. Now, can she successfully refine a first-grade elixir? Boss Bai nodded and asked. Jingjing can now refine second-grade elixir with 90% success rate. Lin Yi said, 90%? That's a very high success rate. What? You said second-grade elixir? Boss Bai widened his eyes and looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. You are not lying to me? She really can have 90% success rate in refining second-grade elixir? Yes. Lin Yi nodded and said with a bitter smile. Boss Bai, do I need to lie to you? Second grade, 90% success rate. Boss Bai took a deep breath. What a young hero. Chapter 2542. His own disciple only had an 80% chance of successfully refining a first-grade elixir and a 30% chance of successfully refining a second-grade elixir. This was under the condition that his disciple was extremely talented, and it was also the result of his careful teaching. But this Han Jingjing, who came out of nowhere, had a 90% chance of successfully making a second-level elixir in just a few months, under the guidance of a half-baked elixir refiner like Lin Yi. What did that mean? Of course, that was the result of Lin Yi's reservation. After all, it was too shocking that Han Jingjing could successfully refine a second-grade elixir and mass-produce it. Lin Yi just smiled. Can you let her be my disciple? Boss Bai was a little tempted. Well, I'm afraid. Lin Yi hesitated and didn't know how to explain. It was not that he didn't want Han Jingjing to be his disciple, but it was not very useful for a scientific alchemist like Han Jingjing. What? Do you want to keep it to yourself? Seeing Lin Yi's look, Boss Bai thought that Lin Yi was reluctant to let her go. So he said with a smile, I'm just helping you to train a helper. I already have a disciple, so I won't compete with you for her. No. Lin Yi shook his head and decided to tell the truth. He said, Mr. Bai, Jingjing's situation is a little special. She has the fire attribute in her body, but not the wood attribute, so your practical operation is not very useful for her? Oh? Boss Bai was really shocked this time. Alchemists lack the wood attribute? How is that possible? How can such a person become an alchemist? Not to mention refining elixirs, it would be good enough if the furnace doesn't explode. So, Boss Bai lost his voice and said, How is that possible? Jingjing uses a complicated method of exploration and calculation to get some data. She's the only one who can use this method, and it's a unique one. It's impossible for anyone to teach her, and it's not realistic for her to learn it. Lin Yi didn't go into too much detail, just giving a general overview. I see. Boss Bai was deep in thought. Although what Lin Yi said was theoretically feasible, it was actually very difficult and unrealistic. However, Lin Yi certainly wouldn't lie. which meant that it was all true. There was only one possibility, and that was that Han Jingjing was a genius in mathematics, physics, and chemistry. At the very least, she had the intelligence of a scientist, which was why she was able to calculate the complicated chemical and physical changes in the furnace, as well as the time, temperature, and intensity of the fire. Boss Bai used to be a successful alchemist, so he understood the principle after what Linny said. It was just that this seemed a little unimaginable to him. It was not impossible, but the difficulty was too high. It's not impossible, but it's too difficult. Boss Bai shook his head and said with a bitter smile, "This alchemy method is theoretically feasible, but it's the first time I've heard of it." I was also shocked at the time. Linny smiled, "But little E, don't tell anyone else about this." Boss Bai's face suddenly returned to a serious expression. "Especially don't let the Hidden You family and the Heavenly Elixir sect know. Otherwise, it may bring an unexpected disaster to Han Jingjing. At least, before you have the qualifications to look down on all the ancient sects, you can't reveal this news." "Teacher Bai, I understand. I'm only telling you." Linny knew the stakes and nodded. "I think I shouldn't hide it from you since you treat me so well, but to others, hee. Yeah, I was thinking too much. Kid, you're even more shrewd than the little fox. You played you coiling tiger like a fiddle, and he took out all the good stuff hidden in the Yu family to trade with you." Boss Bai smiled in relief. "Yeah, so I'm going to take this information and exchange it with you coiling tiger for some materials for third-level elixirs," Linny said. "Okay." Boss Bai nodded firmly this time. "This information is useless. This is all I can support you. I don't have materials for third-level elixirs, but I can find some materials for second-level elixirs for you." "Oh, Mr. Bai, you have materials for second-level elixirs?" Lin Yi suddenly had a feeling that he could wear out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find what he was looking for without any effort. Why didn't he think that Boss Bai had materials for second-level elixirs? If he had known earlier, Lin Yi would have gotten some materials from Boss Bai. Why did he have to exchange with you coiling tiger? "I do have some, but you know that these materials are very expensive. It's not that I'm stingy, but I'm really not rich. I have an apprentice at home, so I have to use them sparingly." Boss Bai looked at Lin Yi apologetically and said, "These materials can be bought?" Lin Yi was slightly dazed. "Of course." Boss Bai nodded and said, "The Heavenly Elixir sect sells these common materials, and I've planted some myself, but not a lot. Also, teaching apprentices wastes a lot of materials." "Well, how about I buy them from you?" Lin Yi asked. The Cultivator Trading Association hadn't given Lin Yi a definite message, so Lin Yi and Han Jingjing were basically in a stagnant state these days without materials to make elixirs. "Yes, but not for now. The Heavenly Elixir sect will only sell medicinal materials at the next Cultivator Trading Convention," Boss Bai said. "Cultivator Trading Convention?" Hearing this somewhat familiar name, Lin Yi thought of something. "Is it held by the Cultivator Trading Association?" "That's right. It was organized by the Cultivator Trade Association." Boss Bai nodded. The Cultivator Trading Association also sells these medicinal materials, but the quality is better and the price is higher, so the medicinal materials of the Heavenly Elixir sect are generally more popular. Other families don't have alchemists. Why do they buy these materials? Linny was a bit puzzled. It was understandable if Boss Bai bought the materials of the Heavenly Elixir sect instead of the Cultivator Trading Association. Anyway, it didn't matter if the materials were good or bad for his apprentice, and the elixirs that were made were of the same quality. But why did other people buy these materials? These materials are actually not only used to make elixirs, but also to make medicines. Boss Bai said, "Little E, you are really confused. In fact, even if these medicinal materials are not made into elixirs, they can be mixed together to make ordinary medicines. Most of them will have corresponding effects, but the effects will be weakened a lot, just like the Dr. Kang's golden creation medicine on the market. Think about it. How similar are the ingredients of it to the circulation pill? At least 7 or 8 kinds of medicinal materials are the ingredients of the circulation pill, right? Latest update, please." Chapter 2543. Oh, Linny paused and nodded. Now that you mention it, that does seem to be the case. Even the bone-cleansing pill, after simplifying the ingredients, could become the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, but Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine couldn't be compared. The effects were similar, but Linny had completely changed it. That's why they say that you don't have to worry about selling the good stuff. Plus, most of the people who come to this kind of trade fair are ancient levels. It's not surprising for ancient sects and ancient families to have a second-level refiner. They also need to buy large amounts of ingredients to train their skills, Bo explained. I see. Can't you just say that it's an ancient-level trade fair? Linny smiled bitterly. This was easy to understand. There were refiners in the Ice Palace. Haha, I thought you weren't familiar with the ancient level. Bo smiled. The two entered Bo's office side by side. In the same way, Bo handed Linny a stack of documents and didn't say anything else. Thank you, Master Bai. I'll be going now. Linny nodded, but he was hesitating. Should he return the favor and show the notes he got from Zhang Liju's tomb to Bo? Logically speaking, Bo was Zhang Liju's disciple, and it wasn't against the rules for him to show Bo his notes. To put it bluntly, Linny was just showing him something that belonged to Bo. All right, go. Bo nodded and said, bring Jing Jing to my house when you're free. If you have any problems, tell her to come find me. All right. Linny knew that Bo had accepted Han Jingjing as his student. After leaving Bo's office, Linny saw Right Coiling Tiger, who was standing at the end of the hallway, pretending to be reading the wall posters. He smiled and greeted Linny. Ha, isn't this Linny classmate? Did Teacher Bai give you something good again? Yes, but I don't want to trade with you. Linny said straightforwardly. Okay, get out of the way. Quack? Right Coiling Tiger didn't expect Lin Yi to be so direct this time, which was different from the previous 2 times. But this time, because Right Coiling Tiger heard Boss Bai's words, he was very confident in the information in Lin Yi's hands. And seeing that Lin Yi didn't play hard to get this time, but directly and decisively admitted that it was good material and refused to exchange, it also proved this point. Wait, Right Coiling Tiger hurriedly stopped Lin Yi and said, all right, Lin Yi, since you're so direct, I won't play dumb. I also know that the thing in your hand is Boss Bai's Master's Alchemy Notes, right? So what if I am? Linny said coldly, I don't want to give it to you this time. Although I admit that I played hard to get you twice before, this time, I don't want to exchange with you at all, so just give up. There's no need to say anything more. Don't. Right Coiling Tiger said, Lin Yi, don't be so absolute. Everything has its value. You rejected me because you think I can't give you a price that can move you, but I can tell you clearly that I can. You can? Linny shook his head. I don't think you can, and I don't want to exchange with you. If you don't want to be beaten, then get out of the way. In Teacher Bai's place, I don't want to use force. This, Right Coiling Tiger didn't expect Lin Yi to be so stubborn. It seemed that he had made up his mind not to communicate with him. He suddenly became a little anxious. This time, it was a real good thing. Right Coiling Tiger absolutely didn't want to miss it. He had already made 2 mistakes, and this time, he clearly knew that the thing in Lin Yi's hand was good, but Lin Yi didn't want to exchange with him, which made him feel a little helpless. I still have to go eat. Lin Yi walked around Right Coiling Tiger and strode forward. Lin Yi, what do you need? Just say it. Isn't business just bargaining? Right Coiling Tiger said, tell me what you want. You have to give me a chance, right? Oh, okay. I want the Qi Gathering Pill. Do you have it? Lin Yi asked. Qi Gathering Pill? Right Coiling Tiger was stunned, and then his face darkened. How could he have this thing in his house? Qi Gathering Pill was a 3rd-grade medicinal pill. Not to mention that the refining materials were rare, it was also very difficult to refine. Even if the Heavenly Elixir sect could refine it, they would not refine this kind of thing. On the one hand, 3rd-grade medicinal pills could not be refined at any time. Even the ancestor of the Heavenly Elixir sect had to think twice before refining a 3rd-grade medicinal pill. He had to consider whether it was worth refining. Because refining a 3rd-grade medicinal pill, whether it was successful or not, required a lot of physical strength and true qi. It was almost impossible to recover in half a year or even a year. During this period, they could not refine other medicinal pills. Therefore, even if a third-grade medicinal pill could be sold for a lot of money, it was priceless. The ancestor of the heavenly elixir sect would not refine it unless it was necessary. For example, the flaming sundan refined for Kong Ming Ming was a last resort, so the ancestor of the heavenly elixir sect would refine it. In the heavenly elixir sect, as a reward for the winner of the trial, some of the third-grade medicinal pills were accumulated by the heavenly elixir sect for generations, some were given by that place, and some were found in ancient ruins. Very few of the heavenly elixir sect's ancestor refined it himself. This was also the reason why Bingtang wanted to refine a third-grade medicinal pill, but she still didn't succeed despite begging her grandpa and grandma. "Linny, aren't you making things difficult for me? You know it's impossible. Not to mention my family. Even the heavenly elixir sect doesn't have it." Right Coiling Tiger smiled bitterly as he chased Lin Yi. "If you don't have it, then forget it. I don't lack anything now. I just need a chi gathering pill to break through to heaven stage." Linny said, "If you have it, then I can consider it. If not, then forget it. Don't. Let's talk about other things, okay?" When Right Coiling Tiger heard that Linny wanted to break through to heaven stage, his heart suddenly trembled. He cursed in his heart. "Motherf asterisk cur, you're only at the peak of Earth stage middle stage now, and you can instantly kill heaven stage early stage and heaven stage early stage peak early stage. If you break through to heaven stage, will you let people live? Will you be invincible under the heavenly Tao?" But this thought was just a thought. What he wanted the most now was the material in Lin Yi's hands. No matter what, he had to get it. "Kill you?" Lin Yi looked back at Right Coiling Tiger. Right Coiling Tiger's face was a little twisted. He hesitated for a moment, but still didn't follow. What to do? After Lin Yi left, Right Coiling Tiger furrowed his brows and started thinking. Latest update, please. Chapter 2544. However, after thinking for a long time, Panhu Right didn't have a good idea, so he called Yellow Hair, Purple Hair, and Xiaolong. The four of them went to a restaurant room. Panhu Right wanted to discuss the latest strategy with them. There was strength in numbers. "Master Panhu, I saw you leave with Lin Yi. Are you okay?" Xiaolong asked, concerned. "I'm fine." Panhu Right shook his head. "As Boss Bai's student, Lin Yi only dares to threaten me. He wouldn't dare do anything to me." Xiaolong nodded. He used to be Boss Bai's student, so he naturally knew about this rule. Boss Bai hated fights between students to an incomprehensible degree. He couldn't tolerate fights between students, and if anyone broke the rule, then sorry, they'd have to get the F***CK out of here. "Then, Master Panhu, what did you call us here for?" Yellow Hair asked. He didn't think that Panhu Right would invite them for a meal for no reason. In this period of time, both Panhu Right and Xiaolong were very low-key. After they came to school, they rarely left the school gates, and usually had lunch in the school cafeteria. "There is indeed something." Panhu Right nodded. "Boss Bai gave Lin Yi a list of refiners, and I wanted to exchange it with him, but Lin Yi didn't budge this time. No matter what I said, he wouldn't agree. He told me that he wanted chi-gathering pills, and he wouldn't exchange without them. Isn't he purposely making things difficult for me? Master Panhu, are you sure that the information is good?" Yellow Hair knew that Panhu Right had suffered a few times before, so he wanted to remind him to be careful and not get tricked. "I'm very sure this time," Panhu Right said. This time, Boss Bai said it himself. This information was given to him by his master, and even Lin Yi admitted it. Oh? Could it be that Lin Yi is playing hard to get? Purple Hair thought about it and said, "Didn't he do this a few times before? I thought the same thing before. Lin Yi might be playing hard to get, but when he said he wanted a chi-gathering pill from me, I'm afraid he's not playing hard to get." Right Coiling Tiger shook his head, rejecting this suggestion. If that's the case, Purple Hair hesitated for a moment before nodding his head and saying, "That's true. If he wanted to play hard to get, he wouldn't have said it so resolutely. Yeah, it's really troublesome. Kongbro, you're a professor. You're wise and resourceful. Do you have any good suggestions?" Panhu Right turned to Xiaolong. "My suggestion." Xiaolong sighed. Panhu Right's flattery made him feel good. He was indeed the one with the highest degree out of all of them. I feel that you should start with Han Jingjing, Xiaolong said after some thought. Oh, Han Jingjing? Pan Hu Right paused for a moment, then his eyes lit up as he thought of something. Whether it was the cauldron or the ingredients he gave to Lin Yi, they were all given to Han Jingjing by Lin Yi. This meant that Han Jingjing was the ultimate beneficiary. Since Lin Yi didn't want to trade, then he'd look for Han Jingjing. At that time, whatever Han Jingjing needed, as long as he could give it to her, Lin Yi would definitely help Han Jingjing trade for it. One had to admit that Xiaolong's idea was really a good one. It could turn the situation around, but I suggest that you don't ask directly. You can first analyze and predict what Han Jingjing needs the most right now. Take this thing and show it to Han Jingjing. Say something to incite her. It'd be best if Han Jingjing would take the initiative to ask for it. That way, you'd have the initiative, and it'd be easier to negotiate. Otherwise, if you let Han Jingjing name a price, she might ask for an exorbitant price and scam you. Xiaolong reminded. You're right, Big Bro Kong. You're a professor after all. Pan Hu Right nodded, overjoyed. All right, I'll ask for leave this afternoon and go back to the hidden house you. I'll discuss with Uncle and Grandpa what Han Jingjing needs the most right now, and I'll get some to show off in front of her. Pan Hu Right made up his mind and went to ask for leave from Boss Bai. He didn't dare leave without asking for leave anymore. He'd almost been scolded last time. Lin Yi, on the other hand, took the information Boss Bai gave him and went to find Han Jingjing. Lin Yi went to Boss Bai's place, and Han Jingjing and Xin Yan didn't eat at the cafeteria. They bought 3 boxes of food and went back to the classroom, waiting for Lin Yi to come back. Lin Yi, I've talked to Yao Yao and Shu. You're going to Professor Bai's office. We bought the food, so we won't be going to the cafeteria, Xin Yan said when she saw Lin Yi walk in. All right, you two didn't eat first? Lin Yi said as he looked at the 3 boxed lunches on the table. None of them had been touched. No, we're not in a hurry. We'll wait for you, Xin Yan said. Then let's eat now. Lin Yi walked over and handed the information to Han Jingjing. Jingjing, read this while you eat. It's left behind by Professor Bai's Shifu. See if there's anything you can learn from it. Okay. Han Jingjing took the information and started reading. After the 3 of them finished lunch, Han Jingjing also finished reading the information. She shook her head and said to Lin Yi, Brother Lin Yi, this information is in the information you gave me, and it's much more complete than this. This is only a small part, and it's incomplete. Although some places have been filled in, it's obviously far from the other one. Oh, in other words, this information isn't very useful? Lin Yi asked. Not really, Han Jingjing said truthfully. Okay, I understand. Lin Yi nodded. If Right Coiling Tiger asks you, just say that this information is very good and very useful. If he asks you what you want to exchange, don't say anything. If he lists the conditions, just stay silent or ask me. Jingjing understands. Han Jingjing nodded. Right Coiling Tiger hurriedly returned to the hidden house of Yu and locked himself in a secret room with his uncle Right Zhentian and Elder Yu. They held a family meeting. Coiling Tiger, you're saying that this time, the information Boss Bai gave to Lin Yi was indeed left behind by his Shifu? There's no mistake? Right Zhentian asked. That's right, uncle. There's no mistake this time. Boss Bai said it himself. I heard it clearly, and even Lin Yi admitted it. Right Coiling Tiger said as he told his uncle and grandfather about Lin Yi's firm refusal to exchange. Update as soon as possible. Chapter 2545. According to what you said, it might really be something good. Yu Zhentian nodded and said, Father, what do you think? If Lin Yi agrees to the exchange, you can let Coiling Tiger take a look and take a photo of the first page and send it back to the family. I'll check it myself and see if this information is important or not. Old Yu said, if it's important, then you have to get it at all costs, no matter how much you have to pay. If it's dispensable, then just pay whatever you want. If Lin Yi doesn't want to exchange, then he doesn't want to exchange. If it's worthless, then forget it. That's fine, but Lin Yi, can you let me see it? Yu Coiling Tiger asked hesitantly. This depends on your ability. Old Yu said, "Coiling tiger, this is also an experience for you. If you do well, I'm prepared to support you to become the first elder of the family. If you can't even do such a small thing, how can you talk about becoming the first elder?" Ah. Yu Coiling Tiger was shocked and looked at his grandfather in shock. He didn't expect his grandfather to support him to become the first elder of the family. That was an existence second only to the head of the family. Although he didn't care much about the family's affairs and focused on alchemy, even the head of the family had to be respectful. The current first elder of the House of Yu was his grandfather's younger brother, which was Yu Coiling Tiger's second grandfather. He was a level 2 alchemist, and even his grandfather had to be polite when he saw him. His uncle was even more subservient, and Yu Coiling Tiger couldn't even see him. Yu Zhantian's expression changed slightly. His second grandfather had never married in his life, so naturally, he had no children. So, the position of the first elder was destined to be chosen from his grandfather's bloodline. Yu Zhantian was the heir of the family, and his son was also raised as the head of the House of Yu. The position of the first elder was also very important, but Yu Zhantian didn't expect his father to raise Yu Coiling Tiger as the heir. Originally, Yu Zhantian thought that it would be good enough for Yu Coiling Hu to become an ordinary elder. He never imagined that he would become the clan's first elder, however, at this time. If Yu Hu really obtained something that was beneficial to the development of the Yu family, then he would become the successor of the great elder, especially since he was on good terms with Kong Ming. Once Kong Ming became the elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect, then Yu Hu would not only become the great elder of the Yu family, but also the young master of the Yu family. Thinking up to this point, Yu Zhantian decided to let Yu Coiling Hu hold the position of great elder firmly and not covet the position of young master. Hence, he hurriedly nodded and said, "That's right, Coiling Hu. You must cherish this opportunity. If you can become the great elder, you'll be able to better assist your brother, Yu Coiling Long. The two of you will lead the Yu family to glory. I will do my best." Right now, Yu Coiling Tiger didn't have any thoughts of replacing him. The position of first elder was enough to excite him. He wasn't the kind of person with ambition. "Grandpa, what do you think about me taking a second-grade cauldron? If Han Jingjing learns alchemy, this second-grade cauldron is a consumable item and can be easily damaged." "That's fine. If you're not a skilled alchemist, it's easy to damage the cauldron. You can take another second-grade cauldron, but I'm afraid a second-grade cauldron alone isn't very attractive, right?" Old Yu said, "Oh, but we don't have an extra third-grade cauldron. Currently, we only have a second-grade cauldron." Yu Coiling Hu said, "Indeed, we don't have a third-grade cauldron, but we still have some casting materials for a third-grade cauldron. See if you can trick Lin Yi and Han Jingjing into giving them a set of materials and trick them into forging their own third-grade cauldron." Old Yu thought about it and asked, "That's fine too." Yu Coiling Tiger rubbed his chin and nodded. Previously, he had tricked Lin Yi and exchanged a cracked cauldron as a treasure. This time, he didn't know if Lin Yi would fall for it. In order to make it seem real, you can give him some materials for a third-grade elixir. This way, he won't suspect that a third-grade cauldron can never be forged. Yu Zhantian reminded, "That's right. I'll give it a try. First, I'll prepare these things and then give them to Lin Yi and Han Jingjing one by one. Then, we'll see if they'll be tempted." Yu Coiling Tiger nodded. Lin Yi was in school when he received a call from Songshan's orphanage. However, it wasn't Yu Xiaoka who called, but Xiao Qin. "Lin Yi bro, Xiaoka sis is in some trouble," Xiao Qin said. "Oh, trouble? What kind of trouble?" Lin Yi's heart tightened as he quickly asked. "It's not a big problem. It's just that the Swiss franc that you gave to Sister Xiaoka can't exchange it." Xiao Qin said, "These few days, Sister Xiaoka has been running around with this matter, but she hasn't found a suitable channel. The black market's handling fee is too high. Sister Xiaoka is furious." "Oh, that's it." Lin Yi slapped his forehead in realization. He'd given all the Swiss francs to Xiaoka, but he'd neglected one problem. If Xiaoka were to exchange them through the proper channels, it'd be troublesome. The amount was too huge, and she couldn't even explain the source of the money. She didn't go to Fatty Lai? No. CEO Lai's company said that they're discussing a big business deal, and CEO Lai went abroad. Xiao Qin said, "Fatty Lai went abroad? Lin Yi paused. He hadn't interfered with the company's business for a long time, and he didn't know how it was progressing. But from what Xiao Qin said, it seemed like the company was doing pretty well, even expanding its business overseas. All right, I'll go there myself later. Linny had wanted Yu Xiaoke to look for Pengzhan. This sort of foreign currency exchange wasn't something that other people could do, but Pengzhan was a local businessman, and he had deep connections with the banks. But Linny remembered that Yu Xiaoke and Pengzhan weren't close, and Lin Yi actually wanted to go to Songshan to see Ziyu and Chen Shi. He hadn't seen them in a long time, and he wondered how they were doing. From the fact that Ziyu didn't look for him when she was in trouble, Linny felt like he didn't care about them anymore, and so Linny decided to go see them himself. Chapter 2546. Linny asked for a day off from Boss Bai in the afternoon and drove to Songshan. At this time, Yu Panhu just happened to return to school from the Hidden Yu family with some good stuff. His car brushed past Lin Yi's car, but Yu Panhu wasn't good at observing, so he didn't notice it at all. Instead, Lin Yi saw Yu Panhu in the sports car. What was this guy doing in such a hurry? Lin Yi secretly guessed. Did he bring good stuff for him and Han Jingjing again? It had to be said, the person who understood Yu Panhu the most was actually Lin Yi. Yu Panhu returned to class, and the first thing he did was look at Lin Yi's seat. But he didn't see anything. Where's Lin Yi? Yu Panhu asked in a daze. Master Yu, I heard he had something to do in the afternoon, so he asked for a day off. Purple Hair didn't go back with Yu Panhu. He stayed in school. Asked for a day off? F***sike. Yu Panhu felt like he punched cotton. He happily brought a bunch of good stuff and was about to show off, but he didn't expect Linny to leave. But he thought about it again. Linny leaving wasn't a big deal. He wanted to show off in front of Han Jingjing anyway, and without Linny, it would be easier to show off. Han Jingjing shouldn't be as sly as Linny, so it should be easier to trick her, right? Thinking about this, Yu Panhu took out the second-grade medicine cauldron from before, walked to Han Jingjing, and sat down beside her. Han Jingjing was currently studying the alchemist notes that Boss Bai's master gave her. Although most of the content appeared in the alchemist notes that Lin Yi brought back from the ancient tomb, Han Jingjing didn't have anything else to do right now, so she started reading from the beginning when she was bored. Seeing Right Coiling Tiger walking over, Han Jingjing quickly put away the alchemist notes, then picked up a school medical book and flipped through it. Yu Coiling Tiger immediately rolled his eyes. He didn't expect Han Jingjing to be so vigilant. She put away the documents the moment he walked over, which made Yu Coiling Tiger angry and helpless. Han Jingjing, why are you so hardworking? Are you studying during your lunch break? Right Coiling Tiger asked as he spun the cauldron in his hand. Yes, Jingjing has to study hard and help Big Brother Lin Yi in the future, Han Jingjing replied without raising her head. F***. When Right Coiling Tiger heard Han Jingjing's words, he felt very aggrieved. He thought to himself, what's so good about Lin Yi? Why were all these girls so dead set on him? What's wrong with you? Han Jingjing raised her head and looked strangely at the reddened Right Coiling Tiger. It's nothing. Right Coiling Tiger laughed dryly. Hey, Jingjing, what were you looking at earlier? Can I have a look? No. Han Jingjing rejected decisively. Don't. Didn't Teacher Bai always say that students should help each other? I want to see the documents in your hands. You should let me see them, right? Right Coiling Tiger used Boss Bai's name to say something. Helping each other is not forcing each other. If I let you do a striptease in the classroom, would you agree? Han Jingjing's eyes flashed with a sharp glint as she spoke indifferently. Ugh. Right Coiling Tiger was speechless. If you want me to help you with something related to studying, I can naturally help you. For example, I can borrow your textbooks, Han Jingjing said. Forget it. I have them too. Right Coiling Tiger was a little puzzled. This Han Jingjing usually looked dumb. Why was she so quick-witted? She didn't seem to be easy to fool. This girl was probably just acting cute in front of Lin Yi, similar to Yushu. It seemed like it wasn't easy to fool her. Oh. Han Jingjing nodded and ignored him, continuing to look at the textbooks in front of her. Right Coiling Tiger was a little depressed. In order to attract Han Jingjing's attention, He began to play with the second-grade cauldron in his hands. 3 circles to the left, 3 circles to the right. This was a very easy thing for an alchemist like Right Coiling Tiger. It was even easier than performing acrobatics in a circus. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The second-grade cauldron spun rapidly in Right Coiling Tiger's hands, making all kinds of difficult moves. However, after playing for a long time, all the eyes of the students in the class were attracted to him. Most of them were envious and shocked. They didn't expect Right Coiling Tiger to be so good at cauldrons. Only Han Jingjing continued to turn a deaf ear, quietly looking at the textbooks in front of her. Right Coiling Tiger wanted to attract Han Jingjing's attention, but Han Jingjing didn't even look at him. Even if the others were shocked to death, it had nothing to do with Right Coiling Tiger. Right Coiling Tiger was a little helpless. He could only put the cauldron on the desk, coughed twice, and said to Han Jingjing, "Jingjing, did you use the second-grade cauldron I gave you last time?" "Oh, I used it. It's pretty good. Thank you." Han Jingjing replied indifferently. This second-grade cauldron, for beginners, is very easy to break. During practice, if you don't control the temperature and the intensity of the fire well, it might explode. Right Coiling Tiger said up to this point and asked, "Your cauldron isn't broken, right?" "It's not broken. It's quite sturdy," Han Jingjing said without raising her head. "Oh, then it's not broken. Actually, you should prepare another cauldron just in case. If it explodes, you have a replacement." Right Coiling Tiger said, "You mean, you're going to give me another one?" Han Jingjing finally raised her head and looked at the second-grade cauldron that Right Coiling Tiger had placed on the table. Of course, I can't give it to you for free, but we can exchange." Right Coiling Tiger saw that Han Jingjing had finally been led to the main topic by him and was immediately overjoyed. "Oh, then forget it. Mine isn't broken yet. I won't exchange it for now." Han Jingjing lowered her head again. This made Right Coiling Tiger want to cry but have no tears. He didn't have any temper at all. Actually, you don't have to pay anything. How about you give me a copy of the information you just read, and this second-grade cauldron will belong to you? How about it?" Right Coiling Tiger raised the second-grade cauldron in his hand and tempted her. "This is a second-grade cauldron. I won't give you a copy," Han Jingjing said directly. Right Coiling Tiger realized that his words just now were equivalent to saying nothing. His rich expression was also very rich. Han Jingjing didn't have any intention of coveting this second-grade cauldron at all. After thinking about it, Right Coiling Tiger asked, "How about this? You tell me what you need. What do you want?" "What do I want?" Han Jingjing thought about it and said, "I already have a second-grade cauldron. You giving it to me won't be of much use. It's just a backup. If you have a third-grade cauldron, you can also give me one." Chapter 2547. Third-grade medicinal cauldron. Right Coiling Tiger said in his heart, "Here it comes. Can you refine a third-grade medicinal pill? You want a third-grade medicinal cauldron?" However, he just thought about it in his heart. Naturally, he couldn't say it out loud. If he said it, wouldn't it be looking down on Han Jingjing? At that time, Han Jingjing would definitely not exchange with him. You also know that a third-grade medicinal cauldron is very precious. Our Hidden You family doesn't have much in stock. Moreover, we don't have any more now. The next batch hasn't been cast yet, so then we will talk about it after you cast it. Han Jingjing wasn't a fool. She had already learned about the differences between first-grade, second-grade, and third-grade medicinal cauldrons from Lin Yi's information. First-grade and second-grade medicinal cauldrons could be made by a third-grade alchemist. As long as one used alchemy fire, it could be completed. There was no casting process. However, a third-grade medicinal cauldron was different. It must be cast by a blacksmith. In this era, blacksmiths had long disappeared. Therefore, in theory, it was impossible to cast a third-grade medicinal cauldron. The existing third-grade medicinal cauldrons were passed down from the past. In fact, for a medicinal cauldron, it was possible that a first-grade and second-grade medicinal cauldron was easily damaged. After all, it was the work of an alchemist. There was no casting process, so it was reasonable that it wasn't strong. However, a third-grade medicinal cauldron was basically undamaged. As long as it wasn't a heaven-defying medicinal pill, using a third-grade medicinal cauldron to refine a fourth-grade medicinal pill, the medicinal cauldron wouldn't be damaged. As for what Right Coiling Tiger said about the next batch not being cast yet, it was complete nonsense. However, Han Jingjing didn't expose it. She didn't want Right Coiling Tiger to see how much she knew about alchemy. That still needs a long time. Right Coiling Tiger quickly said, "How about this? Although I don't have a third-grade medicinal cauldron here, I have some materials for casting a third-grade medicinal cauldron. How about I give you some materials, and you let Linny cast it?" "Oh." Han Jingjing nodded after listening. "Is it free?" "Of course not. As long as you give me a copy of the materials that Linny gave you, it will be fine." Right Coiling Tiger said, "That won't do. I don't want it." Han Jingjing said resolutely. Yu Panhu was about to cry. He had wasted so much time and effort, but Han Jingjing's one sentence had returned everything back to square one. "Then how can I make a copy? Just say it." "What else do you have? Just say it." Han Jingjing turned the topic back to Tiger Yu. Right Coiling Tiger hesitated for a moment, then said, "All right, to be honest, I can give you a second-grade medicine cauldron, a third-grade medicine cauldron casting materials, and some third-grade medicine pill materials. How about it? Is this enough?" "That's it?" Han Jingjing asked. "That's right. Isn't this enough?" Right Coiling Tiger suddenly revealed all his trump cards, feeling a little discouraged. "I don't know. When Brother Lin comes back, I'll ask him for you," Han Jingjing said. "What? You still have to ask Linny?" When Right Coiling Tiger heard Han Jingjing's words, it was as if he had been struck by lightning. He suddenly felt exhausted. He had said so much for nothing. He thought he could fool Han Jingjing, but in the end, Han Jingjing still had to ask Lin Yi. "That's right. This information belongs to Brother Lin Yi. If you want to make a copy, you naturally have to ask Brother Lin Yi," Han Jingjing said matter-of-factly. "Isn't the information in your hands now? If you secretly make a copy for me, then you can get these good things. Think about it. It's worth it. If I were you, I would agree." Right Coiling Tiger didn't want Han Jingjing to ask Linny again. He wanted to bypass Lin Yi. Otherwise, if he asked Linny and Lin Yi asked for the chi-gathering pill, where would Right Coiling Tiger find it for him? That won't do. Jingjing won't lie. Han Jingjing shook her head. Stubborn. Right Coiling Tiger cursed in his heart, but he didn't dare to say anything on the surface. He only said, "All right then, when Linny comes back, you can ask him if these things are okay." He originally wanted to cut the Gordian knot with a knife and directly report a bunch of benefits to knock Han Jingjing out. While Linny wasn't here, it seemed that Right Coiling Tiger was too idealistic. Han Jingjing didn't want to do underground transactions behind Lin Yi's back. Right Coiling Tiger left. Han Jingjing smiled slightly. Right Coiling Tiger's trump card had been tested by her. After Linny came back, all she had to do was continue to add chips on these things. It would also save her the trouble of negotiating. Lin Yi drove to Songshan's orphanage. The orphanage now could be said to be different from before. Bright buildings rose from the ground, and the orphans lived in spacious and clean dorms. There were also more orphans of suitable age who could enter school, but at the same time, trouble came. Because of the expansion of the orphanage, the good environment attracted more abandoned babies. Many of the abandoned babies that the hospital didn't know how to deal with were all sent to Xiaoka's orphanage. Of course, it would be easy if these abandoned babies were healthy, but the problem was that most of these abandoned babies had congenital diseases. Needless to say, living expenses were naturally high, but the treatment fees were astronomical. With Xiaoka's personality, there was no reason for her to reject these orphans. So, this situation made Xiaoka, who had just gotten a breather, carry a heavy burden on her back again. Otherwise, with her previous savings and Fatty Lie sponsorship, she could totally let the orphans live a good life. But now, it wasn't possible. There were more and more orphans, and she had to hire more and more employees. These people were different from the volunteers in the orphanage. These people had to support their families, and they couldn't work for free. Xiaoka had to bear a large amount of expenses, and seeing that it was almost the end of the month, Fatty Lie went abroad for business. Naturally, Xiaoka was worried about how she could cash in such a large amount of Swiss francs. She couldn't pay these employees in Swiss francs, could she? Xiaoka sis, someone's here to help you. Xiaoqin saw Lin Yi's car and happily went to inform Xiaoka. Someone's here to help me? Who? Xiaoka looked at the excited Xiaoqin, slightly taken aback. Lin Yi bro is here. He'll definitely help you. Xiaoqin said. Lin Yi? Why is he here? Xiaoka's expression changed slightly. She frowned and looked at Xiaoqin. Xiaoqin, did you tell Lin Yi about me? Chapter 25:48. Then how did he get here? Xiaoka's face turned even uglier. Only Xiaoqin and the dean knew that she brought back a box of Swiss francs from the practitioner's market. The other workers in the orphanage didn't know about it. So how did Lin Yi know about it? Xiaoka's face darkened even more. Although Lin Yi had a lot of information channels, why would Lin Yi pay attention to her if he had nothing to do? Could it be Xiaoka had once suspected that Lin Yi was interested in her, but Lin Yi denied it, which made Xiaoka feel a little relieved. But no matter what, Xiaoka still felt uneasy. After all, Lin Yi wasn't someone she had a lot of contact with, and Lin Yi didn't look like someone who liked to meddle in other people's business. Why would he help her? What reason would he have to help the orphanage? And why would he go to such great lengths? His pharmaceutical company must have invested a lot of money into it, right? And he didn't ask for anything in return. Why? Xiaoka couldn't think of any reason for Lin Yi to do this. What was the value of this orphanage? There were many people who did good deeds. Even if Lin Yi was doing good, there was no need for him to do this, right? Lin Yi wasn't doing a good deed anymore. He was doing everything he could. And Lin Yi suddenly appeared, saying that he was here to help her solve her problem. This made Xiaoka worry even more. If Lin Yi didn't pay attention to her, how would he know that she needed Swiss francs? It seemed like Lin Yi had been paying attention to her. Unless Lin Yi had sent people to follow her, and knew that she had been going to the bank and the black market every day to find out how to exchange money. But since Lin Yi was here, Xiaoka had no reason to reject him. Lin Yi was here to help her, and no matter what his purpose was, if Lin Yi could really help her exchange money, it would solve a lot of Xiaoka's problems. I don't know either. Sister Xiaoka, why do you look so pale? Xiaoqin smiled bitterly in his heart. If you knew that big brother Lin Yi is a male thief, I'm afraid you would have already rushed out, right? However, Xiaoqin couldn't get involved in this kind of thing. It's fine, let's go. Xiaoka sighed and left the room with Xiaoqin. Coming to the guest room downstairs, Xiaoka saw Lin Yi drinking tea on the sofa and chatting with the dean of the orphanage. The dean had a smile on her face and nodded from time to time. It seemed like she had a good impression of Lin Yi. Lin Yi, you're here. Xiaoka's attitude wasn't cold, but it wasn't friendly either. Xiaoku, it's very troublesome to exchange those foreign currencies, right? Let me exchange it for you. Lin Yi said straightforwardly. After coming to the orphanage, he still had to go to school to visit Ziyu and Chen Shi, so time was tight. How did you know I had foreign currency to exchange? Xiaoka asked casually. Lin Yi was about to say that Xiaoqin told him, but he saw Xiaoqin standing behind Xiaoka and giving Lin Yi a look. Lin Yi paused and smiled bitterly. I heard it from someone else. Someone else? Xiaoka frowned. As expected, if he didn't keep an eye on her, how would he know that she needed to exchange foreign currencies? All right, let's not talk about this. I'll make a call first. Lin Yi didn't want to sell Xiaoqin out and change the topic. He took out his phone and called Peng Zhan. Lin Yi's actions, on the other hand, looked like a guilty conscience in Xiaoka's eyes. Avoiding the question meant that he was keeping an eye on her and refusing to admit it. Xiaoka didn't know what to do. What should she do? If she rejected Lin Yi and Lin Yi stopped funding the orphanage, what would she do? What would she do if he asked for her money back? Xiaoka fell into a dilemma. She knew that Lin Yi might be interested in her, but she couldn't turn back now. Once she went against Lin Yi, it wouldn't just be her problem, it would affect all the children in the orphanage. Did she want all the children to live on the streets? Xiaoka was scared just thinking about it, and so, Xiaoka had no choice but to nod dejectedly. All right, thank you. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't notice the change in Xiaoka's facial expression. He thought that it was because she couldn't exchange the money out. He didn't think too much about it and turned to Pingzhan after the call connected. Uncle Chu, do you have time now? Now? Yeah, what's up, E? Pengzhan asked. It's like this, my friend has a lot of Swiss franc that he wants to exchange, but the amount is a bit large. Do you have a way? Linny asked. That's easy. Just ask your friend to come to me directly. But I'm in Songshan right now. Can your friend come over? Pengzhan asked. Uncle Chu, I'm in Songshan right now. I'm in the orphanage, you see? Linny said. All right, I'll ask Faubert to come find you, and he'll help you with the exchange, Pengzhan said. All right, thank you, Uncle Chu. Linny hung up and turned to Xiaoka. All right, one of my elders will be here soon. He can help with the exchange. Oh, Xiaoka nodded. Although the problem was solved, she couldn't feel happy. She couldn't understand why Linny would help her like this. If he didn't like her, then what was it? But what if Linny liked her? What should she do? She didn't want to do anything to betray the male thief, and she didn't want the orphanage to be destroyed. She was in a dilemma, and naturally, there wasn't any joy in solving the problem. Xiaoka, what's wrong? Why do you look so worried? What's the problem? Tell me and I'll solve it together? Linny, on the other hand, didn't think much of it. Xiaoka did mention this once, but he treated it as a joke and didn't take it to heart. Plus, Linny's other identity was that of a male thief, so naturally, he would show more concern for Xiaoka. Xiaoka, on the other hand, didn't think the same. The more Linny treated her well, the more he wanted to help her solve her problems. The more she felt that Linny was doing this for no reason. She said coldly, "No, thank you." Xiaoka, why are you talking to Linny like that? The dean frowned. To be continued. Chapter 2549. The dean didn't know about Xiaoka's cunning thoughts, and seeing that her tone wasn't good, she scolded. Linny is here to help us solve our problem. Why do you have such a gloomy face? Xiaoka couldn't say it out loud in front of Linny, and she didn't want to tell the dean about it. She was afraid that the dean would be worried. Linny, the children of the orphanage and I are very grateful for your help. I thank you on behalf of the orphanage for everything you have done for us. Xiaoka said, on behalf of the orphanage, without hesitation. What she meant was that she was thanking him because of the orphanage, and she was only representing the orphanage. It was impossible for her to be thanking him personally. Linny didn't want her to thank him personally. Linny thought that Xiaoka was emotionally unstable because of her period, and he didn't think much about it. He wasn't a male thief anymore, and there was no need for Xiaoka to be nice to him. Linny didn't mind and smiled. Haha, I was just helping out along the way. It's nothing much. Oh, Xiaoka heard Linny say that, but she didn't really believe it. Along the way? You came all the way from Donghai to Songshan, and it was just along the way? Even if Xiaoka was an idiot, she wouldn't believe it, right? Plus, Xiaoka wasn't an idiot. Linny saw that Xiaoka didn't seem to want to talk, so he didn't say anything. Only the headmaster of the orphanage frowned, not knowing what was wrong with Xiaoka today. Usually, when people came to donate, even if it was only 100 or 80 kwai, Xiaoka would welcome them with a smile, but today, Linny was helping her solve such a big problem, and she was like this. After a while, Faubert drove to the orphanage. Faubert was very grateful to Linny now, and if it wasn't for Linny's insistence on treating Faubert like a junior, Faubert would want to talk to Linny as an equal. Thank you, Uncle Li. Xiaoka knew who Faubert was, but she wasn't too familiar with him. She gave the Swiss francs to Faubert and thanked him politely. Her attitude towards Linny was very different, and it made Linny very puzzled. Why did Xiaoka's attitude change so suddenly? After dealing with the orphanage, Linny didn't stay any longer. He looked at the time, and it wasn't time for Ziyu and Chan Shi to finish school yet, so he drove directly to Fatty Lai's medical company. The orphanage and Miracle Dr. Guan's new building weren't far from each other. The two were taken at the same time, and the construction started at the same time. Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was also in the Guan's medical company. Now, no matter if people mention golden creation or injury medicine, they would first think of Miracle Dr. Guan's products. Dr. Kong was like yesterday's flower, and Dr. Kang's medical company gave up on production. The military products were also stopped because of the weight loss medicine scandal of Dr. Kang's medical company. So Miracle Dr. Kang's medical company had no choice but to shut down after losing all the market. Fortunately, House Kong had a powerful Kong Xiaoming, and they had a good relationship with the hidden House Yu. This way, they could help House Yu sell some low-level pills. These pills had a lot of recognition in the top auction market. For example, a level 1 pill like the Little Rejuvenation Pill. Although it wasn't as effective as the Little Rejuvenation Pill, it was still very effective for normal injuries, especially to speed up the recovery period of patients after surgery. This type of pill was made by the hidden House Yu, and they didn't want to sell it themselves, so they just let House Kong do it for them. Don't look down on these level 1 pills. These things were very valuable. In many cases, a level 1 pill could even be sold at the price of a level 2 pill. The reason was simple. There were a lot of rich people in the common world, but although there was no lack of rich families in the cultivation world, they were all people who knew what was good for them. They wouldn't pay too high a price for these pills. Of course, a large portion of the profits would still be given to the hidden House Yu, and House Kong would only get a small portion. But even so, the profits from the auction were enough for House Kong to look down on many companies. It wasn't any less than the previous Dr. Kang's medical company. It might even be more. After all, the cost of auctioning pills was very low, much lower than running a company. Lin Yi parked his car in front of the building of the Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. When he walked into the building, he was stopped by the security guard. "Hello, sir. May I know who you're looking for?" Lin Yi smiled. He remembered the first time he came to Songshan and entered Pengzhan Industries. He encountered a similar situation, but this meant that the Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was much more formal than before. Before, people could enter as they pleased. "Is Kong here?" Lin Yi asked. Fatty Lai went overseas, so he looked for Kong directly. In fact, Lin Yi was also here to see Kong. Ever since graduation, Lin Yi hadn't seen Kong, his best friend, for a long time. Both of them were busy with their own things and didn't have much free time. "You are looking for Vice President Kong. Do you have an appointment?" The security guard heard that Lin Yi was looking for Kong, so he quickly asked, "Appointment?" "No, just inform him," Lin Yi said. "I see. Then how should I address you, sir?" The security guard didn't chase him away directly, so he asked politely. "Lin Yi," Lin Yi said. "Lin Yi. Okay." The security guard turned around and went to the front desk to inform Kang's secretary, but halfway there, he suddenly realized something. He turned around and looked at Lin Yi in surprise. "You said your name is Lin Yi?" "Yeah." Lin Yi looked at the security guard, confused. He didn't know what was wrong with him. Why did he suddenly turn around and ask about this? "Mr. Lin, please come in." The security guard quickly made a welcoming gesture and said respectfully, "I'll bring you to Vice President Kong." "Oh, okay." Lin Yi was confused. "Why didn't you inform him?" "It's like this. In our security regulations, the first rule is that Mr. Lin and Miracle Dr. Guan can enter the company without notifying anyone. This is a rule set by President Lai," the security guard explained. The guard explained. No wonder he felt that Lin Yi's name was familiar. Luckily, he remembered it now. It wasn't his fault that he was slow. Although he didn't come to the company often, he would come once in a while to discuss the future direction of the company with Fatty Lai. So the security guards all knew him. But Lin Yi was different. This was the first time Lin Yi had appeared since the building was completed, so it was normal that the security guards didn't know him. To be continued. Chapter 2550. I see. Lin Yi smiled. He didn't expect Fatty Lai to come up with such a rule. They took the elevator upstairs, and the security guard personally brought Lin Yi to the vice president's office and knocked on the door for Lin Yi. The person who opened the door was a young, beautiful, and arrogant woman with heavy makeup. Lin Yi frowned. Was this Kang's secretary? Huh. Why is it a security guard? What's the matter? Why didn't you call to inform us beforehand? The woman looked at the security guard and Lin Yi and frowned. You're new, right? Don't you know the rules? Secretary Wang, this is Lin Yi, Mr. Lin. Chairman Lai has a rule that allows people to come in without informing us. The security guard explained with a bitter smile. Chairman Lai said to look for Chairman Lai. This is Vice President Kang's office. The woman was obviously unhappy with the security guard using Chairman Lai's name to suppress people. This surprised Lin Yi. How could this woman be so daring? Could it be that he really had an unclear relationship with Kong? Otherwise, how could she be so arrogant? As if she was the general manager? Lil Wang, what's going on? Kang's voice came from the office. Vice President Kong, someone said that Chairman Lai personally approved him to enter the company at any time. The woman said directly. She didn't seem to have any respect for Kong. This made Lin even more suspicious. Oh. Kong was slightly surprised. He walked out of the office and saw Lin Yi. The doubt in his heart immediately turned into surprise. He quickly ran over and held Lin Yi's hand. He said excitedly, "Boss, you're here. I didn't expect this. Please come in. Lil Wang, there's nothing else for you to do. You can go now." Oh. The woman nodded and really went into the secretary's office. Lin Yi took a look and saw that the woman's computer was actually playing Plants vs. Zombies. It was even more strange. Usually, a secretary would take the initiative to serve tea when the boss had a guest. This woman, on the other hand, went back to play the game. The security guard wiped the sweat on his forehead and said to Kong, "Vice President Kong, I'll go back first." "Okay, thank you." Kong nodded and said to the security guard, "Are you used to working here?" Lin Yi looked at Kang's attire. It had only been a few months, and Kong was looking more and more like a successful businessman now. He didn't look like a student at all, and Lin Yi was quite gratified by this. It seemed like Kong had chosen the right path back then. "It's not bad. President Lai often travels, so I'm in charge of the company. Although it's busy, it's fulfilling. Boss, thank you for giving me this opportunity." Kong said sincerely. "Hee, let's talk inside." Lin Yi pointed inside the office and said, "Okay, you see, I forgot. Please come in." Kong quickly invited Lin Yi into the office and let Lin Yi sit on the sofa. Then, she turned around and poured water for Lin Yi. This action made Lin Yi even more puzzled. What exactly did a secretary do? How's Xiaofan? Lin Yi couldn't ask directly. Although the relationship between the two was very good, it was too abrupt to ask about the relationship between Kong and the female secretary when they just met. So, Lin Yi changed the way he asked. "She's good." Kong Mingming placed the tea in front of Lin Yi and said, "President Lai also built a high-end community nearby as a staff welfare house. The internal price is relatively low. Xiaofan and I also bought a set, and we're already living together. We're going to hold a banquet next year, and when we're of age, we'll register our marriage." Oh, Lin Yi nodded. It seemed that the relationship between the two was not bad, but this female secretary. Lin Yi thought about it and said, "Other than Xiaofan, you didn't flirt with other women, right? You also know that in your position." It wasn't that Lin Yi was too controlling. If Xiaofan didn't have any opinion, it was their business if Kong wanted to find a lover. Lin Yi really didn't have any opinion. After all, this was other people's housework. But if you want to find someone, you should find a decent one, right? The beauty of the one just now could only be said to be average, and the makeup was really unflattering. This was a company, not a theatrical troupe, and the makeup was really terrible. Moreover, this person's arrogant temper and character also made Lin Yi very dissatisfied. "Boss, what are you talking about? My relationship with Xiaofan is very good. How can I find someone else?" Kong was stunned. He didn't expect Lin Yi to suddenly mention this problem. "To be honest, boss, if it wasn't for your help, I would still be a loser. How could I become the vice president? Xiaofan also followed me from that time. I can't abandon her just because I became rich, right? And Xiaofan is also very powerful now. She even got a CPA, and now she's the company's deputy finance director. If I don't keep a close eye on her, there will be a lot of people pursuing her." Lin Yi nodded and was relieved. Kang's sincerity didn't seem to be a lie, but Lin Yi was even more puzzled, so he couldn't help but say, "Your secretary." After Kong listened to Lin Yi's words, he was stunned at first, and then he understood Lin Yi's meaning. Lin Yi's previous words were probably directed at the female secretary. The female secretary's attitude and way of doing things made Lin Yi think too much. However, Kong did have something difficult to say. He hesitated and smiled bitterly. She is a backdoor entrant." "What? Backdoor entrant?" Linny was stunned, and then he finally understood why this woman was so bad *ss. It turned out to be a backdoor entrant. However, Linny was puzzled immediately. How big of a backdoor entrant did she have to be able to make her not even put Kong, the vice president, in her eyes? Yeah, she is a backdoor entrant. I can't do anything about it, so I arranged her here to gain experience. Kong shook his head helplessly. Whose backdoor entrant is so powerful? Linny asked. Even a vice president like you can't order her around? This, Kong really couldn't say. This backdoor entrant was arranged by Tang Yun's mother, Wang Yujie. It was a relative of Tang Yun's mother. At that time, with Mrs. Tang's vanity, she bragged in front of her relative that the boss behind the company was her son-in-law. Since this relative was also a vain person, she thought that she was also a relative of the boss behind the scenes. So she looked down on everyone in the company, and even Fatty Lai didn't give a damn. However, Kong couldn't say anything about Tang Yun. This was something Ming Yao and Yu Shu specifically told him to do. Fortunately, this female secretary didn't know Lin Yi's name, and Mrs. Tang didn't say anything, otherwise, it might really be exposed. What's wrong? Can't say? Lin Yi frowned. To be continued. Chapter 2551. This? I'm not too sure. It was arranged by Mr. Lai. Kong stuttered. Fatty Lai? Linny was curious. Fatty Lai didn't seem like the type to abuse his power for personal gain. Even if she was his relative, he didn't have to do this, did he? Shaking his head, he said, forget it. Tell Fatty Lai that even if she's a backdoor entrant, put her in a department without a job. This company doesn't need her alone. But forget about the secretary. She's not a secretary. She's more like a manager. This. I'll tell him. Kong smiled bitterly and nodded. Lin Yi didn't dwell on this issue. Since this woman wasn't Kang's lover, it didn't matter. Lin Yi didn't bother with her. The company was so big that it was inevitable to have connections. Fatty Lai wasn't a saint. He couldn't just ignore his friends and family. Lin Yi understood. Let's not talk about this. If there's a chance in the future, let's go to Donghai and have a meal together. Linny said. Yeah, I want to go too, but the company's business is expanding rapidly these days. I don't have any time at all. Kong smiled bitterly. But it'll get better after a while. The phone on Kang's desk rang as they were conversing. Kong picked it up and said a few words before turning to Linny apologetically. I'm sorry, boss. Something came up again. There's a client here, inviting me over for tea. Haha, go ahead. You're also working for me. Why would I mind? Linny smiled. I don't have anything to do. I just came to see you on the way. All right, I'll go to Donghai when I'm done here, boss. Kong nodded. Lin Yi and Kong left the company together and separated at the parking lot. Lin Yi looked at the time. There was still some time before school ended, so he drove back to his villa. It had been a while since he went back, and Linny wanted to clean up a bit. It was almost winter break, and Ming Yao and Yu Shu would probably go back to Songshan. After all, they'd lived here for more than 10 years, and a change of environment wasn't something they could adapt to so quickly. In a high-class room in Songshan Starlight Hotel sat the hidden Zhuang Niaoqiang and Zhuang Niapeo. Brother, did you see it clearly? That girl beside Ziyu, she's a good furnace? Zhuang Niapeo's eyes flashed with shock and greed. That's right. It's definitely true. Niaoqiang nodded. I didn't think that we'd get such an unexpected reward this time. The two brothers came to Songshan this time because of House Chen's invitation. Chen Xiaoba had his eyes on Ziyu and wanted to take her back as his wife, but Sihua was controlling him. Xiaoba wasn't satisfied with that, so he called the two brothers from the hidden Zhuang house over to take care of things. No matter how strongly Sihua was, he was just a dog of House Zhao. The Zhuang brothers were different, however. They had the lowest salary in House Zhuang, second only to the big brother, Zhuang Niadeo. Plus, Zhuang Niadeo was the future head of the house in name, in charge of everything in House Zhuang. To put it bluntly, Zhuang Niaoqiang and Zhuang Niapeo were more important to the hidden house. Zhuang Niadeo wasn't suited for practicing, so he gave it up and went to Donghai Engineering University to study business management. It was actually managing the house as well. Zhuang Niaoqiang and Zhuang Niapeo, on the other hand, trained in combination techniques. Both of them were Earth-class early phase peak, but their combination attacks could defeat Earth-class mid-phase, even mid-phase peak. Even late-phase Earth-class masters wouldn't be a problem for them. This was also why they dared to say that they were invincible under Sky Class at the Hidden House Summit. They were indeed very strong. This time, they came to help Chen Xiaoba. On one hand, the two brothers wanted to thank the Chun family for their contributions to the Hidden Zhuang family. On the other hand, they wanted to come out and relax. Previously, during the Hidden Family Summit, the two brothers were too depressed. They wanted to show off their skills, but in the end, they didn't even dare to fight and left the stage. But now that they thought about it, not fighting Lin Yi was the best decision they'd ever made in their lifetimes. If they really did fight Lin Yi, they'd either be crippled or dead. There was no third possibility. In this period of time, Hao Shuang had received a lot of news about Lin Yi. Lin Yi had injured the Sky Class of the Hidden House Yu and crippled the Earth Class late phase peak of the Hidden House Shuang. This news touched the nerves of the Hidden House Shuang. Luckily, they didn't go against Lin Yi, or else they wouldn't even know how they died. House Shuang was different from the other hidden houses. Elder Zhuang was only an Earth-class late phase peak, and he couldn't even take one move from Lin Yi. If he went against Lin Yi, he'd be a cripple. So sometimes Zhuang Niapeo and Zhuang Niaoqiang would think that if they didn't get close to Zhuang Niapeo and Lin Yi during the Ice Palace test, they wouldn't have to be so careful now. With the protection of a god like Lin Yi, House Shuang didn't have to worry about the other hidden houses harming them. Even though they invited the two brothers to help Chen Xiaoba, Zhuang Niaoqiang and Zhuang Niapeo didn't want to fight with House Zhao head-on. They wanted to kidnap House Zhao. The reason was that House Zhao had Sky-class masters, but House Shuang didn't. They had to be careful. But with Lin Yi's protection, things were different. House Han was so weak in the past, but now in Donghai City, House Zhao had no choice but to lower their head. How powerful was that? Of course, everyone knew that this was a fox borrowing the tiger's power. It was all because of Lin Yi. But they were hugging onto Lin Yi's thigh, and no one could do anything about it. House Zhao dared to provoke House Han. If they provoked Lin Yi, then their whole family would be done for. But House Shuang wanted to go to Lin Yi's side, but they couldn't. They didn't have the opportunity. If they went to Lin Yi and made him their boss, then Lin Yi would think that they had ulterior motives. He might not even accept them. Thus, the Hidden Zhuang family was stuck between a rock and a hard place. In the past, the Hidden Zhao family and the Hidden Han family were at the bottom. After all, the Hidden Zhao family didn't have a heaven rank expert. But it was different now. The Hidden Zhao family also had a heaven rank expert. Chapter 2552. This time, when Zhuang Niaoqiang went out to investigate, he found out that Ziyu's Qin-shi was a good cultivation vessel. Even Lin Yi didn't notice this point, but Zhuang Niaoqiang did. This had to do with the combination practitioner's arts and practitioner's arts. The arts and practitioner's arts were all about the combination of qi, and so there was the issue of the cauldron. I wonder what level this cultivation vessel is at. If Grandpa absorbs her qi, would he be able to break through to Sky Class? Zhuang Niapeo sighed. Plus, is this Chun-shi a natural cultivation vessel, or is she someone else's? We need to be clear about this. We don't want to make enemies. Let's do it secretly. No one knows. Even if she's someone else's, we can't let go of this opportunity. Zhuang Niaoqiang said, if Grandpa becomes Sky Class, how much benefit would it bring to the house? Look at the Hidden House Zhao. Isn't Elder Zhao so strong after becoming Sky Class? That's true. Zhuang Niapeo nodded. Then second bro, can you tell Grandpa? Okay, I'll call Grandpa now. Zhuang Niapeo said. He and Zhuang Niapeo didn't think about using this cultivation vessel, since it could only be used by one person. If one of them used it, their strength would explode, and that would cause problems with the practitioner's arts and practitioner's arts. Both of them had to be around the same level to use the technique, and if one of them was too strong, it would cause problems. Zhuang Niapeo and Elder Zhuang had been plotting for a long time, and they came to the same conclusion. This was what they had to do. With Elder Zhuang's nod, Zhuang Niapeo and Zhuang Niapeo made their move. Of course, they didn't tell Qin Xiaoba about Chun Shi being a cultivation vessel. Xiaoba, I think the girl beside Ziyu isn't bad, too. She's fresh and pretty, too. If you want Ziyu, that girl will belong to us brothers. What do you think? Zhuang Niapeo asked. Of course, it's not a problem. Even if you let Gunslinger enjoy both of them first, it's not a problem. Qin Xiaoba's heart was bleeding when he said this. He had no other choice but to please the Tuzhua brothers. Oh, we don't want the girl you like. Us brothers naturally wouldn't do such a thing. Zhuang Niaoqiang waved his hand and shook his head. We just want the other one. Hee. Then this little brother will thank you. Qin Xiaoba felt relieved and said gratefully. These two brothers of the Zhuang family are really not bad. All right, let's move now. Isn't it just a kidnapping? You're the son of an underworld boss, and you're not good enough. You still need us two brothers to do it? It's really useless. Zhuang Niapeo said. Haha, isn't this Zihua Li's territory? I don't have much confidence, but with Gunbro and Gunslinger, there won't be any problems. Qin Xiaoba smiled as he opened the car door and invited Zhuang Niapeo and Zhuang Niaoqiang into his Mercedes-Benz MPV. He then started the car and drove towards Songshan's first high. At this time, Songshan's first school wasn't out yet, so there weren't many cars in front of the school. Qin Xiaoba parked the car in front of the school and went to the guard as promised. Uncle, I'm Ziyu's brother from your school's fifth. Can you please call her out? Tell her there's some trouble at home, and it's best if she can bring a friend to help. Qin Xiaoba was dressed like a dog today, looking like a successful, sunny, and handsome man. The guard didn't have his guard up, thinking that Qin Xiaoba really was Ziyu's brother. He nodded quickly. All right, I'll call her right now. As the guard spoke, he picked up the phone in the guard room and dialed the number of Grade 1 Class 5's homeroom teacher. He then explained the situation at the school gate to her. Ziyu and Qin Shi were people that the principal Ding Binggong personally told them about, so naturally, the homeroom teacher didn't dare neglect them. Hearing that something happened at home, she quickly told Ziyu. Ziyu thought that it was Lin Yi when she heard that her brother was looking for her. She was happy and worried at the same time. Lin Yi said something happened at home? So what exactly happened? And so, Ziyu quickly pulled Qin Shi and ran out of the school. Qin Xiaoba, on the other hand, was already hiding in the MPV, afraid that Ziyu and Qin Shi would see him like this. The reason why he said he was Ziyu's brother was because Zihua said that Ziyu had a brother, and they'd talked to each other before, so he pretended to be Ziyu's brother. This way, Ziyu wouldn't suspect anything. Uncle, where's my brother? Ziyu pulled Qin Shi to the school gates, but didn't see Lin Yi. She asked the guard. Oh, your brother. He was here just now. Maybe he got in the car already. It's pretty cold today. The guard didn't think much about it and pointed at the car. All right, thank you, uncle. Ziyu brought Qin Shi to the car, and because she was in a rush, she didn't think too much and didn't put up any defenses. She was just about to knock on the door when it opened, and Zhuang Niaoqiang struck out with his hand, knocking both Ziyu and Qin Shi out before they could react. Zhuang Niapeo helped to push the two of them into the back seat of the MPV and quickly drove away from the scene. All of this happened in a few seconds. Zhuang Niaoqiang and Zhuang Niapeo were practitioners, and even if Ziyu was a delinquent girl, she wouldn't be a match for them. The guard didn't see this scene, but this scene happened to be seen by Boss Zhu, who wasn't far away. Boss Zhu's mission was to watch and protect Qin Shi, and he would pretend to be a scavenger around the school every day to protect Qin Shi to and from school. When he saw Zhuang Niaoqiang and Zhuang Niapeo drag Qin Shi into the car, he panicked, but he didn't dare chase after them. Other people might not know Zhuang Niaoqiang and Zhuang Niapeo, but he did. He knew what the disciples of the hidden houses looked like, and he wanted to avoid conflict with them. Boss Zhu also knew how strong these two were. They were both Earth-class early phase peak, so Boss Zhu didn't dare to act rashly. Chapter 25:53. Also, he couldn't say the hidden Zhao family's name because Boss Zhu wasn't stupid. Zhuang Niaoqiang and Zhuang Niapeo kidnapped Qin Shi. They obviously found out the secret of Qin Shi's body. If he foolishly rushed up and said his name, He was afraid that he would be killed. The two brothers of the hidden Zhuang family would definitely feel that their plan was exposed. Since they couldn't do anything, they could kill Boss Zhu, but if they really let Qinshi go, then they would offend the hidden Zhao family. After pondering for a moment, Boss Zhu chased after them, but he took out a super broken phone and dialed Lin Yi's number. Although he was a subordinate of the hidden Zhao family, he was now Lin Yi's lackey. Although the hidden Zhao family was powerful, it wasn't as powerful as Lin Yi. Now that he had established a partnership with Lin Yi, the first thing that Boss Zhu naturally wanted to do was to find Lin Yi and let Lin Yi solve this problem. And this problem, only Lin Yi could solve it. Lin Yi hadn't even driven to the villa when the phone rang. Lin Yi picked up the phone. "Hello, I'm Lin Yi. Mr. Lin? I'm Boss Zhu." Boss Zhu said quickly while running. Chapter 25:54. Therefore, Lin Yi wasn't in a hurry to let Zhu Laoda make a move. Anyway, with Zhu Laoda following him, there wouldn't be any problems. I understand. Zhu Laoda was actually a ruthless person, but he couldn't be ruthless in front of Lin Yi. Previously, he poisoned Qinshi's mother and wanted to kill her, which also showed that he was a ruthless person. Lin Yi continued on the highway towards Lin City. Lin City was an abbreviation. The full name of Lin City was Shanlin City. In fact, it meant the city next to Songshan. It was a small county-level city that developed later, so everyone was used to calling it Lin City. Out of the city center, there were fewer cars, and Lin Yi's speed instantly increased. Soon, he was on the highway, heading towards Lin City. Because he had confirmed the identity of the hidden Zhuang brothers, Lin Yi wasn't in a hurry. Since the two of them were in a hurry to go home, they definitely wouldn't harm Qianxi on the way home. Lin Yi only needed to catch up before they reached home. Finally, on the highway, Lin Yi saw the Mercedes-Benz Viano MPV with the license plate 4321. It seemed like Zhu Laoda's judgment was right. Lin Yi also slowed down and slowly followed behind the car. Lin Yi didn't want to stop the car in front. Zhuang Niaqiang and Zhuang Niapeo were Earth rank warriors. Even if the car flipped over, they wouldn't be in trouble. But Qianxi definitely couldn't, so Lin Yi wouldn't do anything dangerous for the time being. However, although Zhuang Niaqiang and Zhuang Niapeo were arrogant, they weren't idiots. There weren't many cars on the highway, and Lin Yi's car had been following behind the Mercedes-Benz MPV. So Zhuang Niapeo, who was driving, quickly realized something was wrong. Looking at the Grand Cherokee in the rearview mirror, Zhuang Niapeo said, "Niapeo, the Grand Cherokee behind us seems to be following us." "Oh?" Zhuang Niapeo turned his head and looked behind the window. Sure enough, there was a Grand Cherokee not far away, but he wasn't worried and said, "It can't be right? This is a highway, so it's normal for there to be cars behind us. Maybe they're traveling at the same speed as us? Can it be exactly the same?" Zhuang Niaoqiang shook his head and said, "I will try to speed up." Previously, Zhuang Niaoqiang did not exceed the speed limit and only maintained a normal driving speed. After all, the two of them were not professional drivers and did not usually drive, so their driving skills were not too good. Zhuang Niaoqiang increased his speed. Lin Yi didn't intend to hide at all. He had already chased them all the way here. As long as they left the highway, Lin Yi was prepared to take down Zhuang Niaoqiang and Zhuang Niapeo. So when Zhuang Niaoqiang increased his speed, Lin Yi also increased his speed. He really did catch up. Zhuang Niapeo's face did not look good. Where did this car come from? It didn't appear before, it only appeared on the highway. That's not it. There were a lot of cars on the road, so we didn't notice it. Now that there are fewer cars on the highway, we saw it immediately. Zhuang Niaoqiang said, "If it's a blessing, then it's not a curse. If it's a curse, then we can't avoid it. Let's stop the car and take a look." Zhuang Niapeo nodded in agreement. If the people behind had bad intentions, then they wouldn't be able to avoid it. So stopping the car and taking care of it as soon as possible was the right thing to do. As long as it wasn't an expert, Zhuang Niaoqiang and Zhuang Niapeo working together shouldn't be a problem. The key was that they were afraid that the car behind them would suddenly drive over and force them to stop. Zhuang Niaoqiang's driving skills were very average. If he lost control and the car flipped over, they would be fine, but Qianxi would be in danger. They didn't want to destroy this rare furnace, Thus, Zhuang Niaoqiang began to slow down. The car quickly stopped at the highway's emergency parking lane, and Lin Yi also stopped the car. Zhuang Niaoqiang and Zhuang Niapeo wanted to take care of it as soon as possible, so they didn't hold back. They directly got off the car and walked towards Lin Yi's Grand Cherokee. Lin Yi looked at the two aggressive brothers and sneered in his heart. He also opened the car door and got off. Huh. Zhuang Niaoqiang and Zhuang Niapeo saw the person who got off the Grand Cherokee and subconsciously stopped. Their faces showed a shocked expression, and they wanted to turn around and run. They didn't know how they offended Lin Yi, but if Lin Yi caught up to them, it definitely wouldn't be a good thing. However, running away was just a dream. They hadn't even run yet, and they had already turned around. Thinking about Lin Yi's illustrious reputation, could they outrun Lin Yi? Lin Yi was a master who could even kill a heaven-class master in one hit. Wouldn't dealing with two normal Earth-class masters be a piece of cake? Master Ling. Hello. Long time no see, huh? Zhuang Niaoqiang wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said incoherently, Yeah, Master Ling, what a coincidence. I didn't think we would meet here. Zhuang Niapeo also laughed dryly, but his smile was very ugly. What a coincidence. I purposely followed you guys. Lin Yi said lightly. Followed. Zhuang Niaoqiang's face suddenly changed. He couldn't help but shiver and asked carefully, Master Ling, I don't know how we brothers offended Master Ling. The girl in your car is my god-sister. Lin Yi pointed at the Mercedes MPV and said, What, god-sister? Zhuang Niapeo almost fainted. He had tried to guess Chen Shi's background, but no matter how much he guessed, he could only think that she was raised by some hidden house. She couldn't be any stronger, so they decided to do this. Once Elder Zhuang reached heaven class, the other hidden houses wouldn't be able to do anything. It was just like the hidden house Zhao swallowed the hidden house Yu's qi-gathering pill. But now, they heard that Chen Shi was Lin Yi's godsister. This was too scary. Yeah, godsister. You know what I mean. Lin Yi smiled. Oh my god. This time it was Zhuang Niapeo's turn to faint. He was very scared. Luckily Lin Yi caught up halfway. If he really brought Chen Shi home and Grandpa used her, then wouldn't Lin Yi destroy the hidden house Zhuang? Not to mention his grandfather, who had just advanced to heaven rank. Even the famous heaven rank expert of the Hidden Yu family was crippled by Lin Yi. Moreover, Lin Yi only used one move at that time, so he didn't have any killing intent. Otherwise, he would have died without a doubt. Master Ling, I'm sorry. We didn't know Chen Shi was your sister. If we knew, we wouldn't dare even if we had the guts. Zhuang Niapeo took a deep breath and decided to tell the truth. He didn't want to hide anything. After all, lying to Lin Yi at this time was basically asking for death. Lin Yi wasn't stupid, so how could he be easily tricked? Chapter 2556. She must have been tricked, and the person who called her out wasn't Lin Yi. The only person she'd been messing with lately was Chen Xiaoba, and the answer was obvious. Ziyu crept up from the bed and walked to the washroom. The door wasn't locked, and Chen Xiaoba didn't even want to lock the door when he showered. Ziyu could vaguely make out the face of the person inside from the crack. It really was Chen Xiaoba. Ziyu's eyes flashed with fierceness. She was a fierce person in the first place, and she didn't even bat an eyelid when she used to chop people up with a knife. She'd learned her lesson now, and it was all because of Lin Yi. But that didn't change the fierceness in her bones. Chen Xiaoba still dared to kidnap her after being warned by Zihua? How dare he? Ziyu had always been a fearless person, and with Lin Yi backing her up, she was even more fearless. Since Chen Xiaoba wasn't being nice, then Ziyu couldn't be blamed for that. Ziyu went back to her room and fell back on the bed, pretending to be unconscious as she waited for Chen Xiaoba. Chen Xiaoba hummed a tune as he took a bubble bath, feeling extremely refreshed. He was about to enjoy a beauty, and he thought to himself, What's wrong with you? Sihua, you think you're strong? How dare you ruin his plans? If he couldn't do it in the open, he'd do it in the dark. They were all in the underworld anyway, so he'd just have to suffer in silence. After showering, Qin Xiaoba put on his robe and walked out of the washroom. He saw Ziyu lying on the bed, her body wrapped in tight leather clothing. He couldn't stop drooling as he walked over with a smile. Hee, little girl, you still can't escape from me, can you? Sihua, what's so great about you? What can you do when I'm playing dirty? Qin Xiaoba mumbled to himself, ready to rip Ziyu's clothes to shreds when something happened. Ziyu, who was unconscious on the bed, jumped up all of a sudden and sent a kick at Qin Xiaoba's pillars supporting the heavens. Ziyu had used all her strength in that kick, and Qin Xiaoba wasn't prepared for it either. He was kicked right into the face by Ziyu. Pa! Qin Xiaoba let out a blood-curdling howl. That howl was even more horrifying than being tortured by the Manchurian Qing dynasty. His howl was extremely miserable. Qin Xiaoba's eyes and mouth were wide open as he knelt on the ground, his face deathly pale, crying for his father and mother. Boss Zhu has been squatting on the air conditioner outside the hotel window like a Spider-Man. He was an old man with a dark heart, and he wanted to see how Ziyu would deal with Qin Xiaoba. If Ziyu was in danger, he'd be the first to step in. If she wasn't, he'd let Ziyu do her thing. Boss Zhu was on Lin Yi's side now, and Ziyu would be happy if she was happy. Boss Zhu's mouth twitched at the sight of Qin Xiaoba's state. He'd cripple Qin Xiaoba with one slap, and that would be worse than this. He'd probably be in a vegetative state for the rest of his life, but he wouldn't be in this much pain. Qin Xiaoba, how dare you? Why don't you ask who I am? My brother is Lin Yi. Ziyu pointed at Qin Xiaoba arrogantly and roared. Qin Xiaoba really didn't know who Lin Yi was. After all, Sihua wouldn't have had to use so much effort to hint him. He could have just said Lin Yi's name. Qin Xiaoba's level was too low, and he didn't know how famous Lin Yi was. Boss Zhu's face changed. He had a phobia of Lin Yi right now, and if Ziyu were to shout this in front of the hidden house's disciples, or even the head of the house, no one would dare mess with her. This time, Qin Bawang also came. Just now, he was the one who personally drove the car to greet Qin Xiaoba. However, he was a bit depressed. Originally, he wanted to take this opportunity to build a good relationship with the two brothers of the Zhuang family and treat them to a meal. But he didn't expect that the two brothers of the Zhuang family would drive away, making Qin Bawang's trip a waste. But since he was here, Qin Bawang wasn't in a rush to go back. He waited in the room next door for Qin Xiaoba to finish playing with Qian Shi, and then they'd go back together. Qin Bawang was resting when a heart-wrenching scream came from the room next door, scaring him. Wasn't that his son Qin Xiaoba's voice? Qin Bawang immediately became anxious. He got up from the bed and ran out of the room. He kicked open the door of the next room and saw his son rolling on the ground while covering his crotch. Xiaoba, are you okay? Qin Bawang panicked seeing his son in this state. Dad, I'm done. Ouch. Qin Xiaoba couldn't even finish his sentence, rolling on the floor in pain. Perhaps he saw his savior, but his eyes rolled back and he fainted. Little bitch, what did you do to my son? I'm going to kill you. Qin Bawang didn't need to guess to know what was going on. His son must have pushed Ziyu, and she fought back, kicking Qin Xiaoba in the crotch. So Qin Bawang didn't bother asking and pulled out his gun, aiming it at Ziyu. He wasn't a Jianghu, and a gun was the strongest weapon in his hands. Boss Zhu was just watching the show, letting Ziyu have some fun, but seeing Qin Bawang pull out his gun, Boss Zhu panicked. Ziyu wasn't a Jianghu. How could she dodge a gun? Boss Zhu directly broke through the window and slapped Overlord Qin's arm that was holding the gun. His arm was smashed into pieces, and the pistol fell to the ground. Who are you? Qin Bawang did not expect that someone would come in through the window. Although his arm was in pain, he still asked in shock. He was an ambitious person. Although his arm was in pain, it was impossible for him to toss and turn like Qin Xiaoba. Her brother sent me. Boss Zhu pointed at Ziyu. Grandpa Zhu? Ziyu knew Boss Zhu, too. She was close to Qin Shi, and naturally saw Boss Zhu a lot. Hearing that Boss Zhu was sent by Lin Yi, she was happy but worried. Lil, she was kidnapped too. How is she? Don't worry. Missing. Mr. Lin went to save Lil, she himself. Boss Zhu usually called Ziyu Ziyu, but now that his identity was out in the open, he couldn't do that anymore. Chapter 2557. Lin Ebro went to save Lil Shi. Ziyu breathed out in relief. She was happy for Qin Shi, but at the same time, she was a little disappointed. Chun Shi liked Lin Yi, but she liked him as well. Ever since the first day Lin Yi brought her to do hair styling, Ziyu started to like Lin Yi bit by bit. But her liking was subtle, and by the time she realized it, Chun Shi had already expressed her feelings for Lin Yi. Ziyu couldn't fight for a man with her sister that didn't fit her big sister character, so she could only keep it to herself. She often helped Qin Shi with her plans, but wasn't that what she wanted as well? She was using Qin Shi to make it happen. Old thing, you're treating me like I don't exist, are you? Qin Bawang heard Boss Zhu and Ziyu talking like there was no one else around, and he was a king of the underworld, a boss of the underworld. How could he feel good being ignored like this? Humph. A small shrimp dares to talk big in front of a cultivator? Boss Zhu smiled coldly and slapped him. I won't take your life, I'll leave your life to Mr. Lin to decide. Cultivator? Chen Bawang was shocked, and this was his last thought before he fainted. His backing was the hidden house Shuang, and he naturally knew who cultivators were. He knew how strong they were, but he never would have thought that this old man was a cultivator. Which force was he from? But Chen Bawang didn't have time to think about it and fainted. Boss Zhu called Lin Yi at that moment. Mr. Lin, Miss Ying's fine, she's fine. Chen Xiaoba's balls were crushed by Miss Ying, and Chen Bawang wanted to use a gun, but I broke his meridians and bones, turning him into a cripple. Well done. I'm heading to the hidden house Shuang now. Bring them with you. Lin Yi breathed out in relief. He knew that Ziyu wouldn't be in any trouble with Boss Zhu following her, but it was still a huge weight lifted off his shoulders. Hidden Zhuang family? Boss Zhu paused. Mr. Lin, haven't you settled your things? Are we going to kill our way into the hidden Zhuang clan? With this thought, Boss Zhu became excited. Is Lin Yi going to massacre the hidden Zhuang family? That would definitely be very hot-blooded. However, with his strength, would he be sending himself to his death by following beside Lin Yi? Kill what kill? Lin Yi smiled. The hidden Zhuang family seems to want to get close to me. I'll go take a look first. Ah, they want to. Zhu boss wasn't stupid. Hearing Lin Yi's words, he immediately understood. Hidden Zhuang family wanted to recognize Lin Yi as their boss? Thinking about this, Boss Zhu felt bitter. Why did Hidden House Han, Hidden House Pai, and even Hidden House Shuang know that joining Lin Yi was their only way out? But why did Hidden House Zhao want to die? What good was there in going against Lin Yi? When Lin Yi got angry, he'd just destroy the entire Hidden House Zhao. Boss Zhu felt a bit wronged. They were joining Lin Yi's side, so it was natural for their people to work with Lin Yi. But he had to do it sneakily. What the hell was going on? Haha, don't be upset. Lin Yi could tell that Boss Zhu was upset. He smiled. House Zhao, don't they still have Zhao Qikuan? Oh? Boss Zhu's eyes lit up. That's right, they still had Zhao Qikuan. Why didn't he think of this before? If Qikuan died in the Sky Elixir School's test, then everything would be over. But what if he didn't die? With Lin Yi's support, Zhao Qikuan wouldn't be able to do anything, would he? At that time, Hidden House Zhao would turn the sky upside down. They might even split apart. I'll go right now. Boss Zhu took a deep breath and made his choice. He didn't have a choice. Actually, he didn't want to die, so he could only become Lin Yi's follower. With Ziyu and Qin Xiaoba and Qin Bawang in his hands, Boss Zhu got in the car they were in before and sped towards the city. Lin Yi followed Zhuang Niaoqiang off the highway and got on a very smooth road. This road had a toll booth as well, but it wasn't open to the public. It only checked the cars coming and going from Hidden House Shuang. With Zhuang Niaoqiang leading the way and Zhuang Niapeo sitting on the side, the two cars entered the road without any obstructions. They soon arrived at a manor. The environment here was pretty much the same as Hidden House Zhao and House Han. It seemed like the hidden houses all had similar styles. Grandpa Zhuang, who had received Zhuang Niaoqiang's call, was already waiting at the entrance of the manor. In front of Lin Yi, there was nothing he could do. He was just an Earth-class late-phase peak master, while Lin Yi was a mid-phase peak Earth-class mid-phase peak. His real strength was enough to kill Sky-class masters. In front of him, Lin Yi was like a senior. The two cars stopped in front of the manor, An elder Zhua ignored Zhua Niaoqiang as he walked up to Lin Yi's jeep with a smile. He opened the door for Lin Yi respectfully. "Welcome, Elder Lin. Your presence brings light to our humble abode. We welcome you with open arms." Once upon a time, Elder Zhuang was very against Lin Yi at the Hidden House Summit, but things had changed. After knowing Lin Yi's ability to kill Sky-class masters, he adjusted his attitude, changing from being against him to fear and respect. Now, Hidden House Zhuang might become Lin Yi's follower. With such a great opportunity, Elder Zhuang was even more cautious, not daring to make any mistakes. "Haha, you're too polite, Elder Zhuang." Lin Yi smiled faintly and accepted the title of senior. Back in the cultivator's market, third brother of the right had already called him senior, so Lin Yi was used to it. "Senior Lin, please." The more indifferent Lin Yi was, the more Elder Zhuang felt that Lin Yi was amazing. As the saying goes, if Lin Yi wasn't amazing, how could he have such a demeanor? "Wait, let me take a look at my sister first." Lin Yi waved his hand and walked to Zhuang Niaoqiang's Mercedes-Benz MPV. He carried Chen Shi from the back seat. Although Lin Yi already knew that Chen Shi was fine, and Zhuang Niapeo and Zhuang Niaoqiang wouldn't lie to him, but after a careful examination, he found that Chen Shi really just fainted. To be continued. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.